Nathan online. I go by Duck. It's good to see everybody. I'm gonna go ahead and flip messages on. I'm going to super power our stream today with a little power of the poll. YouTube's got all these amazing live stream tools for us. That yeah, for any reason and at any time, can help switch up the experience for you guys. So I'm super excited about that. Shout out to whoever's just joining. Yeah, guys, hype the stream. I do check those reacts and stuff. You guys like what you hear, let your boy know. Give me something fun to do. But we're talking about inflation today. I'm super excited for that. Yeah, you guys must be too. So in the US, inflation just hit 3.8%. So this is a high over some time period. And yeah, you guys know the sort of old person fear, right? Obviously, you guys see the price of eggs going up, price of gas, all this stuff gets more expensive, and sort of the short-term old person sort of read on some of this stuff is that, yeah, as it becomes more difficult, like it starts feeling like sludge to circulate money. Yeah, 3.8%. Yeah, 3.8%. And so this is, obviously this is like large for the U.S. in the U.S. context. How voters in the U.S., how politicians in the U.S. interpret this, it'd be very different than other places. Political priorities may be different, but we're going to be talking about inflation, learning a little bit about it, and then whatever else the devil may bring, guys. Yeah, whatever you guys want to talk about today. Whatever. Good to see Titan as well. We got the unofficial, obviously not a part of the channel, but one of our favorite doggos in the universe. If you guys see, we got the mod I Am Buffoon here. We got Titan the dog on that left-hand side of your screen. So Titan's one of our favorite puppies, one of our favorite puppers, everyone. So I got to jump into my super hyper dashboard experience mode. Hey, thanks. Shout out. We already got some stream hype. GG's, Andy Lima. Great to see you. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for sending some love over. Appreciate you. Appreciate it. Ooh. Hell yeah. Yeah, let me get this cleaned up, guys. Let me get this cleaned up, figure out what I got going on my side of the world. Get this. I got to set this poll question up. I'm going to put a little bit of a challenge, right? The first poll, because we're talking inflation, you got no pressure to get the right answer, but I'm going to put a little bit of a hard answer in. Hey, an underboss showing up too. Hey, good to see you. Yeah, shout out to you. Thanks so much for the hype, the little sun emoji. That's cool. You've only posted on Patreon once. Yeah, guys, I haven't invested in Patreon yet. I don't advertise it yet that much. I don't even know if I have the link up on my YouTube profile. If you guys are subscribers, free subs or paid subs, I wouldn't even know. I got to check that out, guys. So I'll check that. I've been focusing on YouTube growth and stuff like that. You are? Cool. Yeah, let me go. When the stream ends, I'll go log into my Patreon and maybe see if it's a good time to start focusing on that again. Hey, thank you. Micropolitics. Okay, that's one. Cool. We got a hard question coming in. Hard question. So we're talking inflation. Micropolitics is one of the ways we can solve it. Either you work too hard or you're on drugs. Your face looks messed up. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know if I could do anything to fix that. Yeah, my face, my body, my voice, everything's basically trying to get tuned back around to YouTube norms. So I'm looking good, looking pretty for you guys. What's it like in Australia? Oi, mate. Yeah, I wish I was in Australia. I have a great idea to get you a lot of views and paid subs. Oh, cool. Yeah, thanks, Andy. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, I do want to get, obviously, I love growing in the YouTube algorithm. I've been thinking about investing in some videos and maybe doing, 25 or 50 USD in paid ads to promote some content, kind of see what comes back. So my style, just so you know, my style, if you have an idea, I love that audience driven growth. You guys can always weigh in the comments, leave a message here too. But I do love those sort of small scale things. I know how to Michael, that's a very strange statement. I don't know how to interpret that. Either you work too hard or you're on drugs. Cool. He works hard. I've seen the last few addicted people here. He doesn't look like one. Cool. Realpolitik. Yeah, real politicking. Hey, what's going on, Mohammed? Good to see you. Shout out to you. Yeah, so we just dropped a poll. So when inflation is high, one of the recommendations that experts make is this idea of micropolitics. This should be a little exciting and cut the wheat from the chaff. In some sense, it should help us to clarify when and where it's the case that Donald Trump's actually helping us when this neoconservative agenda, maybe it is in the US interest, or it has to be evaluated from a policy standpoint, not from an ideological one. But when inflation is high, it's not really the case. We haven't seen MAGA politicians truly engaging in actual grassroots politics. In a lot of sense, what MAGA does is they build social media impressions. They maybe go out and do the traditional handshaking, kiss babies type deal that we see politicians do all the time, right? You want to take your Polaroid out. You want to get some FaceTime with people. So you guys should understand that when we're talking about micropolitics, we're not talking about posting on social media necessarily. You guys can see the results of the poll so far. I haven't looked at, so I don't even know what people are saying. I don't know what they're voting here. But micropolitics is one way that you guys in the US or anywhere in the world, you have a perception about the price of groceries. You have a perception about the cost of using social media, the cost of using gasoline, these types of things. And you see these things going up, rent payments, right? Education costs, whatever it might be. You see these things going up, and this is a result of higher inflation. And micropolitics is one recommendation from the schools of political science. Oh man, Mega Bloodbath has a huge debate, guys. If you check my post history before you guys leave for the day, do go check my post history. My most recent post is advertising a debate between our good friend, Dr. Greg. He's a PhD microbiologist. He's going to be teaching everyone later tonight, less than 12 hours. He's going to be teaching everyone about evolution in a debate. Yeah, so somebody wants to prove evolution is a lie. If you want to hear a molecular biologist defend evolution, put forward the best arguments on planet Earth, some of them, you guys are going to want to go check out Mega Bloodbath Debate. Tacos is a mod here. He's Mr. Go Anywhere, Mr. Do Anything, right? He is Discord legend. He is the biggest profile on Discord. He's the biggest name on Discord. I'm not even joking, not even lying. So you know when he gets behind a big debate like this, you guys are going to want to check it out. It's in my post history. But yeah, micropolitics does revolve around this idea. Micropolitics is this idea that politics and inflation can't always be solved at the federal level. And there's a good reason why. If you want to think why high inflation in the US and other countries, you can't just give it to the highest government, the state level government in the land. And you would think that, wow, you guys must have a solution for this. And it just isn't to be. It isn't always to be. So micropolitics suggests that we go back to this local level, right? We are talking about things like town halls, or we're talking about things like sister cities programs that don't involve the federal government, right? Hey, guys, maybe you'll give us the small check or you sign on the dotted line. You tell us where the funds already are, and we'll go out and we will connect our local community to a global one. Or alternatively, you say, well, hey, it is high time, right? Inflation is high, but that also means that there are relatively better investments to make in the school program. There's relatively better conversations we can make and conversations we can have on this local level. So unfortunately, guys, we don't always get a quick, simple, easy answer to some of these problems, guys. And so I know this is sort of a college style test question. It's not the hardest I can write for you guys, but yeah, this is sort of, if you look at the poll results, refresh the stream if you already dismissed it. But yeah, at least one of those may be an example of micropolitics. Take a look at it. Tell me what you guys think. It is sort of like a college test question you might get in the first in the first sort of half of your political economy class, right? When you are introducing yourself to the topic, seeing how well you're doing. So micropolitics is this crazy phenomenon. And so I think we should sort of focus on things around the world. Hey, Abade, I'm not a teacher, I'm not a professor. I try to come on here and share the little itsy bitsies knowledges that I have. But yeah, when inflation's in the news, some people might think, well, what is Daddy Trump? What is Daddy Trump? What are our prime ministers, presidents, what are leaders in the UN going to do for this, right? Is this a geopolitical issue? And absolutely, it could be, right? It could be a geopolitical issue as well, right? We see US inflation going up and we wonder, well, Donald Trump has been driving war in Iran, right? He is a warlike president. He's a war hawk. He's a warmonger. He's not a president of peace. Donald Trump has made decisions that take human lives, that arbitrarily and for no reason increase the cost of things people are going to use anyways. Donald Trump hasn't addressed any of the moral challenges. He hasn't built civil society. He hasn't built any of these other layers that build trust and help liberal economies, help free people interact in a free way, right? And he's exported violence. Donald Trump's exported not peace, and he's exported unreasonableness. This is part of his neoconservative agenda. And if we assess Donald Trump's policies, it's difficult to say they've done anything except this. And so when we see these side issues coming up that, yeah, MAGA voters never thought Donald Trump would have to raise taxes, or Donald Trump would have to, whether he's not raising taxes, but he's reducing your purchasing power, he's reducing your savings rate. So you're a citizen in the US, or you're a US citizen wondering about what savings rates are like, what purchasing power is like in other places, right? Boy, the almighty dollar, you sure got to cover this one before you start talking about the respect or moral worth of other lives, guys. It's so difficult to get around this. But yeah, we get in this room where we are talking political economy, we're talking microeconomics, we're talking macroeconomics, right? This is macroeconomics. This is not about what Billy Bob Joe Sue, your favorite small company, billion-dollar Wall Street CEO is doing, right? This is macroeconomics. This is talking about the levers to drive free economies, free trade, pricing transparency, having access to capital and debt, and having understanding of those things at the level of your government, at the level of people like Donald Trump. This is your job, bro. Bro, there is no other job, right? I'm sorry to get too excited about this or to sound kind of lame. Like, what? I mean, come on, guys, come on. And so we arrive at this point where, yeah, you invest in nationalists, you invest in neoconservatives, you vote your ideology, you vote your identity, and what comes back? What do you bring back for your family today? Well, today, my son, what you bring back for your family is you brought back a leader who's raising your prices, reducing purchasing power, reducing your savings rate, and introducing more risk, right? He's creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. He says, well, if I do violence, at some point in time, maybe I am, right? Maybe someone in Washington is going to have the bright idea to shift blame for his poor decisions, for our democracy's poor performance, right? None of us stepped up. None of us got Kamala in office. None of us stepped up and said, hey, GOP is not MAGA Republican. I don't know what these things are. And so we lost. We take a step back and say, well, we lost this debate, this fight. It's pretty bad. Hey, good to see everyone. Good to see everybody. And so now we have this really brutal sort of decision where, yeah, guys, as a citizen, take a chance to learn a technical topic, right? Political economy is not my strongest topic. It is a very technical topic. Some of it is a lot more intuitive than you think, right? One example, again, if you check the poll, we're talking about micropolitics today, guys. Micropolitics. Micropolitics is not big government politics. Micropolitics isn't talking about nationwide two-way bans, right? Micropolitics isn't talking about nationwide taxes on plastic bags, right? You get a fee, right? We have a Commonwealth fund that has to develop because it's not just this, it's all the forms of wasteful consumption that have gotten out of control. These are not examples of micropolitics. So a political scientist, someone who's smarter than me, like you guys, might recommend that, hey, do micropolitics when inflation is high, right? you should have AOC holding press conferences, but AOC maybe shouldn't, right? If you guys are putting this together from the poll, AOC maybe shouldn't be telling us what we should all be voting for right now. A lot of politicians maybe would say that, yeah, it is the time to go back to the town hall, go back to the small format, go back to where you're connected globally in a small community, build these levers that are about liberal trade, liberal economies, are about things about reasonableness, about responsibility, having value-based conversations, getting the right information out there, right? Producing the current and future indicators of confidence, trust, right? Not trying to scam. You might say, well, that sounds like a scam, right? We're going to make ourselves feel better. No, the scam is asking central banks, Federal Reserves, come fix the problem. Where did the problem come from? Does the problem have a cause? If it is a problem that inflation is 3.8%, if this is a barrier to other forms of priorities or conversations, then that does have a cause, right? The cause was Donald Trump's neoconservatism, wars around the world, 9% higher global military spending. Where does inflation come from? It comes from the government making purchases, not this stupid stuff about welfare benefits where people go buy food and do what they're going to do anyways, right? But military spending, we want higher savings rate. We want to be able to invest because now Northrop Grumman, you guys voted for these executives at these big aerospace, these big defense tech companies to become wealthy billionaires, right? You guys become wealthy billionaires. Your savings rate, your investment rate goes up. Your employees, everything looks so hunky-dory, guys. Boy, what a good idea. We robbed Peter to pay Paul. Donald Trump said he wants to build battleships. He wants to start selling missile launchers. He wants to sell weapon systems. You can make this stuff as simple or as complicated as you want, right? When Donald Trump says he wants to go become the world's largest arm dealer, he's not just selling trinkets, out of the trunk of his car. He's selling an entire ecosystem that your tax dollars and your political opinions and beliefs will have to fund for the next decade to come. So Donald Trump's making a long-term mistake, a long-term decision. And this isn't even just into the war, right? This isn't just the wars, the war in Venezuela, more posturing of violence. Yes, just yesterday, Donald Trump said Venezuela, the 51st state. Does this have any semblance to what's actually going on? The actual drivers that can save beingness on planet Earth, that can reduce suffering for people, that is political? Absolutely not. There is nothing there. And so we're talking about micropolitics in this poll, guys. If you guys want to take this away, let's see the poll results so far. So which of these is an example of micropolitics? So 6% of you guys said Alabama starts a sister cities program. Yeah, absolutely. That is a right. So anyone here who voted that a state like Alabama or, whatever, Atlanta starts a new sister cities program, that is micropolitics, right? These are just small decisions that bring people closer to their democracy. And it doesn't require these large scale levers. It could build trust. It could build understanding. It could satisfy a perception, either a perception or actual utility based, not just like loss perception. The system can work. AOC holds a press briefing. That was the only one that was wrong, right? So 39% of you guys said AOC holds a press briefing is an example of micropolitics, guys. If you check the poll, that was the one. Unfortunately, I left that in there like a college test question. I left that in there for you guys to stumble over. You guys know AOC. You guys love the pressers. You guys love. I do too, right? I'll throw up my second restreaming account, my OBS studio overlay. I'll get the studio set up, and you guys know what we'll do. We'll watch those press briefings sometimes here. Other streamers do a great job covering those things. AOC holding a press conference, big Washington politics, big money politics, big dreams, right? AOC, small girl from a big city with big dreams, right? AOC, that's sort of her hero mindset in these times. No, her press briefing, that's not micropolitics, everybody. A mayor decides on more town halls. Absolutely, right? A mayor decides on more town halls. You may want to see the actual policy outcomes of those things. But yeah, to me, I would say that sounds like micropolitics. Hey, we want to get more democratic engagement. We want to get something more tangible that comes from this. So you loop in, perhaps below a layer of micropolitics, I would include this in there. But yeah, you want to loop in more people and you want to see what people have to say, not about Washington, but your ordinary life, daily life. I don't care if we already know, guys, right? Clear some brain space. If you guys already know that Boeing, Raytheon, these big CEOs are spending all your money, you already know we have to bail out Airbus, we have to bail out Richard Branson, right? We've got friends in Vichy, France, or wherever it is. Who knows? All these people we've never known, never met. Boy, it sure makes us upset now. No worries. But yeah, bringing these issues closer to home, seeing the policy outcomes from those. That is micropolitics. And then 1 in 3, so 55%. Absolutely, guys. If you guys are upset, anybody who's more educated than me on political economy, on comparative politics, you think I messed that up, let me know, guys. I'm going to leave the poll up for a little bit. AOC is a fruit bar. Showers hate this man. Hey, thanks, victimless. Appreciate you. Institutionalized. Yeah. When we think of institutions, this is the beautiful definition of institutions. Institutions, according to Randall Cheek and many others, famous scholar, Randall Cheek, he was well known. There were accusations that Randall Cheek spent time on goth mommy, dom mommy websites, goth mommy, dom mommy YouTube channels, and the whatnot. I can't actually speak to these things, but Randall Cheeks was quoted saying, dude is the definition of institutionalized. And it turns out that's actually right. When we think about micropolitics, one of the reasons your decisions to invest in education or to have more discussions, to push stuff out from the community and build that democratic layer, either write policy, consider policy even, is because institutions can perhaps span to the international level, but institutions definitively span from the local political level up to the federal level, right? So we have a Department of Education. And it's not just the Department of Education, but it's all the resources that support our education system in the U.S. And so when we think about where we can activate political democratic participation, where we can activate democratic voices, looking to push forward, looking to build a better future, wanting to get involved, either signing a check, looping in resources from your mind, whether those are local, national, or international. They're global, they're cosmopolitan, they are specifically about some identity or your identity. They are either political and apt for a policy or they're not, right? And so these sort of more precise terms, Randall Cheek, outside of some of the gooning habits and the whatnot, this scholar is correct. This is institutionalized in a grandiose sense. Trump deranged syndrome is in your blood. Hey, I don't know that that's the case. I believe I'm responding pretty closely to these things. You guys wanted to be mean, rude, and bully people because you didn't have your form of books, your form of knowledge in front of you. You look scary. I shouldn't. No foreign influence in the U.S., including from Israel, sounds like a good start. I have no idea what that has to do with the topic at all, Captain Blackbeard, but thank you. The tentacles run deep. Cool. Yeah, so while some people are doing goth mommy and dom mommy stuff, I haven't been exposed to this tentacle stuff. It sounds disgusting. Trump deranged syndrome. Yeah, cool. What do you think of Spaghetti Man's new EP? I haven't heard it. It's quite the saucepan. I haven't heard it, Zebulu. U.S. Department of Education is BS, needs an overhaul. I don't know, maybe. It would all be revealed due to the Epstein files. Edumacation. Harris said men can't use the girls' bathroom. Cool. Too cool for school. Yeah, you guys get to vote in here. Yeah, I mean, this is the crazy part is that you can, when inflation is high, maybe it is a good time. One of the reasons we do micropolitics is we can look at the trash heaps that we don't like anywhere, right? Whether they're in the U.S. or if you're not in the U.S., not your own country, but other places, and say, well, geez, there should be a way to voice an opinion either about the thing I don't like or into or away from it. This was the correct answer. All right, guys, we're getting the whatever it's called here. Here you guys go. Lamo. Let's see what it do, baby. Let's see what it do. Harris said men can use So the list of things I came up with, which are like, well, micropolitics might have something to say about these big issues, right? Just because we're not going with the federal government. So conservatives, let's see you put your money where your mouth is, right? We've got reusable forests. We've got forests we cut down and regrow. And then when we get sick of that, they're not good enough. We even go out further, right? It's not just that we're degrading the environment. Who knows the long-term impacts on the soil? Apparently it's okay. But then you go to the Amazon, or you can go to these ancient African rainforests because you find a more expensive form of wood. Cool. So we're all doing this, right? So we're all on board, right? You cut it, we buy it. You cut it, we make it, right? You cut it, we buy it. So this is a trash heap, right? This is quote unquote sustainable, but I don't think it's ethical. And so when we think about, well, yeah, who knows? Maybe it's the case that there is more durable or longer term sort of forms of products. There's something that could be more apt for our purposes in a society in which people understand better. That is lurking in university halls, right? And this comes from, again, education. It's either education or it's something about the way that not like state-run media, but it's the way that pop culture recognizes the actual cost of environmental production, as well as how we update beliefs, how we create Bayesian inference from science. There could be a great reason to understand that, yeah, a tree and wood is not getting any different. There is not some next last discovery in lurking in the fibrous pulp of wood. And whether you blend it down, you pour a bunch of water and chemicals in it to make it a new type of sort of substance like an MDF or whatever, or you just cut it down, you cut it in sheets, you find a way to jam the joints together, make it stick, make these big old boards, however you worked it out, right? You cut down the big ones, right? Nothing's changing with this. Nothing's changing with this, actually. And so this is an interesting example where we can express political differences, guys, right? We can express political differences about this. And yeah, who knows? There might be a micro-political solution. There's some mayor who says, well, this was an important part of my campaign as I met, Joe Bobby Sue Smith. And they did talk about sustainability versus future investing. They had an opinion about it. And so why not, right? In the big cosmic scheme of things, is this the thing we don't get in trouble for, is trying to make an informed ethical choice that is also comporting or within our sort of democratic mandates? I don't see why that would be the case. Another great trash heap, is, I talked about the war machine, but what about, our, shipping, or the fact that we ship our trash, right? Plastic waste. Why couldn't you do micropolitics and say, well, if you thought inflation was bad, are you guys happy? Are you confident? Are you going to go back out tomorrow and start consuming and buying again? We're all such global cosmopolitan citizens that we are also global citizens when we consume stuff. Yeah. Hey, there we go. We found Donald Trump, right? Donald Trump, I'm standing up for our America where we buy plastic trinkets and stuff like this. Yeah, but also you can't address this politically, right? You can't ask what people in the US think about any world where your waste is sort of spoken for. So very strange, but yeah. Let me see. My chat got owned, so I gotta flip. Being due to how online operates, I'm uncomfortable saying something out loud because it stays online forever. Cool. Owie. Am I a cultural icon yet? Am I a cultural icon? Am I like Nancy Pelosi? Can I be somewhat happy? Can I be happy like me? Am I a cultural icon? Can I be somewhat more happy? Whoa. What's up, everybody? Good to see y'all. Oh my God, was that coffee? Hell yeah. Yeah, even when inflation is high, I'm drinking a ton of coffee, Marcos. We got Marcos Armani, the flyest man on YouTube, coming into chat. Yeah. Someone said I look like Post Malone. That's funny. I look like Post Malone. We are doing song singing today, folks. Hell yeah. Yeah, coffee's the best, right? What's your opinion on coffee, eh? Actually, yeah. Actually, do you buy fair trade? Do you buy fair trade coffee? What's your opinion on it? If you got one. If you got ones. I usually have a bag of fair trade coffee. So right now I've got some fair trade or sustainably grown, whatever it is, Starbucks. I know it sounds silly to say Starbucks is that, but apparently it is. That's what they say on the label. And then my other one is I usually have a big thing of like Kroger's or just like whatever the store brand, Cafe Bustelo. So those are my two favorite sort of coffee style things. You look like Noah Wiley after a week long. I don't know who Noah Wiley is, but thanks, Bean. Appreciate you. Not sure who that is. I started to drink it because I'm 30, but I don't like it. Cool. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's way cheaper to make coffee at home than to go out for coffee. Especially when, right, we're kind of talking about inflation a little bit today. So when you go out to buy a coffee and you go to Starbucks and they used to charge you $4.50 and now it's like $4.67, right? Now it's $4.67. Well, that price hike comes from somewhere. I think it's from Donald Trump and his buddies, his cronies. So, hey, okay, cool. So you guys, Donald Trump, he messed up your economy. Donald Trump messed up your economy and now he's going to fix it. How's that work? Whatever. Lowest common denominator, I guess, huh? Starbucks coffee tastes like, I don't know what that is. Cool. Brasilia, yeah. You guys got good coffee growing. The coffee growing is good down there. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Oh, yeah. Is your preference for a Brazilian coffee? I would guess they still import coffee in Brazil. I would guess they still import coffee in Brazil. If they do or I don't know, maybe they don't, but I don't know. Oh. Oh, word? Cool. Do I believe in God? Asks Judge Millwood. Hey, welcome to the stream, everyone. I do not believe in God. I don't believe in God. Yeah, I think it's okay to be a spiritual person and still be an atheist, or to say not every one of my beliefs is like from a book, but that's up to you. Hey, I'm good, Joku Joe. Good to see you. Very handsome man in your picture. Hopefully you're doing well. Yeah, but I've got I have no belief, no religious belief, no religious affiliation, you know, just old man stuff, right? Old 36-year-old man stuff. Trump tax coffee from Brazil for a while. Yeah, tariffs. Our Supreme Court in the U.S. ruled that tariffs were illegal. There are all these judges that said, "Hey, you can't do this." So it's very stupid, right? I mean, I'm not against if there were possibly small taxes on like imports to say, well, yeah, who knows? Whatever the reason is that someone has decided that we should whatever. I don't know. I wouldn't totally be opposed to tariffs as like a rule of nature, right? There's no rule of nature, but it's very incoherent when you see a nationalist, when you see somebody who hates other people talking about stealing money from them and then putting it in the pockets of business owners in the U.S. So it's a weird thing for me. Yeah. Yeah. I was watching Parker debates the other day, just yesterday, and Parker was talking about all of the different civil and federal rulings against Donald Trump, some of them involving women, some of them involving, accusing him of little kid stuff, whatever, fraud, and then you see him now going to war, and you got to think, well, yeah, I mean, it is difficult, even if I try as a person, as a voter, to evaluate Donald Trump as a neoconservative ideologue, right? He seems more like a criminal who, just like Hitler or Mussolini, is someone that committed crimes against humanity for the stated purpose of politics. Yeah, is Donald Trump inherently a political person? Well, he seemed to love the media. He seemed to love seeing himself out there, all this other stuff, and so. Right. Obviously, I can look past that. Right. I don't do identity politics. I think it's fine to say, well, this person would be morally reprehensible. I would in no world would I choose to take on ambitious tasks or large tasks with someone like this. But then it's also the case that you can say, well, now that he's making policy, we still have to analyze the policy and we have to analyze the office that he's operating from, right? This is what younger people don't get. I don't think. I'm not that old. I'm 36. But yeah, as a 36-year-old, one of the things that I look at frequently is, well, yeah, what is the level of analysis of the office of the president? He's the head of the executive. He has other executives working for him in government. So all of you have big stacks, right? I've got my vape, but big stacks of paperwork this high. These are laws, right? And so your job is to administer those laws. There isn't any magicalness. That's what a government is. And so saying you were elected, so you're responsible to all Americans, not just the people who voted for you in the GOP or MAGA Republicans. We still have to say that, even if we think that, well, the Epstein connection was never really settled. The story in civil courts, this doesn't seem political, right? It seems like a lot of independent judiciaries, independent judges. That's what a judge is. That's what a judiciary is. There's no, people that accuse these of political prosecutions, right? There's no evidence. There's no evidence that these courts were not operating independently, that the prosecutors were not operating independently, that the courts were not operating independently. And then so Donald Trump is also doing this weird thing where when he brings political prosecutions up, and either they drop the charges early, right? So, hey, nothing to investigate, right? This was a discussion and there was something that looked tangible, and then we didn't pursue it, right? So this couldn't be political. This couldn't be biased, partial. This couldn't be somehow connected in a non-conspiratorial manner to political objectives of the GOP and of MAGA Republicans. But yeah, you see this. You also see judges saying, well, you don't understand the law. So, maybe you're clumsy, but at what point, when you are doing things and acting in a way that shows you don't understand the law, you don't have effective advisors inside of the government advising you of what's legal, when you don't have, hey, what's going on? Jason Tex, Corporal Jason Tex, Marine Police, huh? What do you mean, huh? What the fuck does that mean? And then so you don't have, so we see that Donald Trump appears to not understand the law, not care to understand the law. We see as much that he doesn't seem to respect the law. And then we also see that this is coming again from the person who we know already has these civil and criminal penalties against him. And so he's not a law-abiding person in some cosmic sense. He's maybe not an awful person. He's not someone you would typecast as a lifelong career criminal, even though we try to avoid that type of thinking anyways. But yeah. So to me, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, if it's too bright, if you can't hang in the kitchen, you guys can't hang in the kitchen with this. Well, we still have to analyze, because then this is the person who's the president of the U.S. This is the person that we still analyze. All of Trump's activities have left a 10-mile long footprint. Yeah, definitely. Duck is raw and unfiltered, and it's the best. Yeah, shout out to you. Jason had a topic to introduce, bro. You came into our little nerd politics stand, our nerd politics station. Were we talking about not Donald Trump's criminality? We were talking about Donald Trump's railroading of the U.S. economy, right? He invested in the military. He didn't understand how this would work back. He didn't understand how big defense tech executives, how does their savings rate or their ability to reinvest, how does that actually impact the economy? Well, if you're going out and using that money to produce war, this is how simple is this, right? You've got CEOs at Raytheon. You've got CEOs at Northrop Grumman. And sure, your money is not just going to the engineers and, the folks who can count nuts and bolts, the manufacturing people, all U.S. made. But it's also going out and it's starting wars. It's increasing the price of gasoline from an economic sense. So you are buying death and you are buying a price increase. There's your politics, buddy, right? Donald Trump, the president of peace. What does peace have to do with that? You buy death and you buy increased expense in oil, right? And at some point, you obviously buy geopolitical risk too, right? You have North Korea announcing today that they're going to put it in their constitution. It's going to become a law that they have a right to first nuclear strike if Kim Jong-un is assassinated. And so, yeah, very scary stuff. Why are you sniffing your nose every time I come here? Have you been messing with the devil's dandruff? I don't know what that is, but great to see you. Very nice way to say hello, Jim Rat. You're a very valued member of this community. Yeah. Why do you come here if you never ask about politics or political science or philosophy? What are you doing here? I know there's nothing else on, and I read your comments, so, but that seems like a very low incentive, a utility, right? You could go, if you don't like the way I sound, you don't like how I talk, you don't think I'm good at this, that's fine, right? I don't need you to think I'm good at this. Hey, Anaya from India, great to see you. Yeah, yeah, you can go read the blog, you can check out other resources if you don't like the way I look or sound, and yeah, quite frankly, that's a very rude and cruel way to introduce yourself to other people, right? You shouldn't be on other channels criticizing people's appearances, how they sound, how they look. Too bad. If you have a bad attitude, you don't like it. My job isn't YouTube police. I'm from Arizona. Yeah, Arizona's in the Southwest United States. So we're just close to California. We're a small state. And yeah, shout out to you. Are you in Delhi or a different city in India? Are you in Delhi or a different city in India? India. It's time to put the Epstein files behind us and focus on a Skeletor's delight. That's very poor taste today. It's very out of what's going on. Inflation just hit 3.8% today, and that is your preferred president. If you're in the US and you're MAGA Republican, you support nationalist politics, not conservatism, right? Not conserving cultural values, not conserving history, not opposed to labor issues, not opposed to demand or welfare economics, but the complete opposite. It's not talking about other schemas like Muhammad Yunus's microfinance stuff. It is instead, right, you're focusing on ignoring the issue, painting over the fact that Donald Trump crashed the economy. He's in the process of crashing the economy, starting wars the US cannot afford, putting money in the pockets of big CEOs, decreasing the savings rate of Americans, decreasing consumer trust, increasing the price of everyday products that come rain or shine, we will be buying no matter what, right? And so you don't have a solution to transition to utopia. And so you're supporting a leader in Donald Trump that you claim to be a leader, but he himself won't admit the mistakes that he's made. It's disgusting. I am from Andhra Pradesh. I hope I can look that up. I hope I can look that up. Cool. A state of India. Oh, wow. Cool. Cool. Yeah, I'll have to look it up. I got it up, so I'll have to look that up, maybe learn a little bit about that place. But thanks for being here. I trust Trump to get us through this war. You shouldn't be calling it a war, right? He's basically he's a criminal for a second reason. He violated the US law if you think this is a war. He didn't approve. He went and asked Congress for $1 billion or $1 trillion, $100 billion to go fight a war no one asked for. He's increasing the cost of oil, and he's making people rich because of this. And there's no security threat. There's no security threat. He himself claimed the political objectives were complete months ago. So very stupid man doing a very stupid thing. And yeah, and so when we say, and so this is what you don't get, Skeletors. When you look at domestic right, you can say there's a geopolitical reason or cause or strategy, and so I respond to that too. And we say, well, the objectives for a weak state like Iran being beat up, we've already seen that one of the stabilizing forces, Saudi Arabs, right? Saudi Arabs, they said we don't want to, we really don't prefer, we ourselves would not prefer to go to war with, the Persian Empire, right? We don't want to go to war in Iran. There's not a good reason to do it, right? And then so Donald Trump says, okay, well, the US will be the bad guys increasing the cost of oil. And then you look at the domestic consequence of it. Trump and so you're basically saying that anything you can say, this is your debate style, but your debate style has nothing to do with policy, right? This has nothing to do with actual public policy. It also has nothing to do, maybe first and foremost, with causality. And so I don't know if you're like a 18-year-old young man, 18-year-old person or something like this, and you haven't sort of internalized your own opinions and beliefs, but that's what it sounds like. Yeah. And so you can, if you want to study history, is another way of looking at causality. History is another way of looking at explanations for how things work, how things change. And so Trump inherited these problems. Trump didn't inherit the need to send naval destroyers to go blockade the Strait of Hormuz. Trump didn't inherit the need to pull out of the initial Iran treaty. Trump didn't inherit the need to adopt nationalist federalized narratives. What's a good history YouTube video? Well, this is a political science channel that you're on, Skeletor. So, right. And so this is how odd you are, is you're making content choices. You're also, right, you're listening to people that aren't me because I'm disagreeing with you, right? So you don't want to learn that the world actually works some way. It's not just how you want it to work. And so my suggestion is to watch content to look at evidence-based beliefs, right? Produce evidence-based beliefs. If it's the case, Donald Trump has done things to decrease the savings rate, to make it more harder for consumers to have trust. Donald Trump has made it more difficult to keep essential inelastic products like oil. To some extent, oil doesn't have infinite elasticity. You will use it anyways. And so saying that that these products have these economic properties, right? This is federal overreach ranging to illegality. But you say Trump derangement syndrome, right? You say Trump derangement syndrome. You say there's no way, right? There's no way that Donald Trump is a sex criminal. There's no way that this is who you're actually talking about. Why don't you Google it, right? You don't need to be here for this. If you want to come back, I'm not really into this conversation. I don't think anyone else is either. So if you want to come back 30 minutes after doing some research, we can talk political economy, we can talk macroeconomics, we can talk microeconomics, or we can talk macroeconomics, because there's inflation, right? So you're at the level of microeconomics. You support Donald Trump based on this. Your opinion has nothing to do with the current political issue, right? There's no other way to change that sort of topic. I don't know if that's what you're telling us. But yeah. Hey, what up? Can you not do like doxing looking stuff, but also shout out to you. Thank you. 210, cool. Yeah, I don't know if you guys know Ludacris. Back in the day, Ludacris had the song about area codes and the whatnot, so that was pretty cool. That was funny. Sans, buddy, it's obvious you never finished high school. Yeah. So that's another way of understanding inflation. Inflation is about macroeconomics. It's about monetary and fiscal policy. And then for the women in chat, for the women and the erudite men in chat, that's also then about when our beliefs and preferences are about maybe convenience, availability, these types of topics, right? Right? It's not a one-man band. Yes, the Federal Reserve, central banks can make a single decision and drastically change the economic outlay. But there's the second term. I'll drop it in chat, which is recommended by political scientists. And this term is called monetary neutrality, right? And so you ask, well, if we don't want, so someone may have created this problem, but it wasn't the Fed, it wasn't the monetary reserve. The system over there is working fine. There is no problem. It's not supposed to be some magic solution. It's maybe a necessary evil, or it is in small ways. Are there pros and cons that are more nuanced to understand? Economists, right? Either professional bankers or professional economists run the Federal Reserve, right? They determine the monetary and fiscal policy. mathematicians, basically. Mathematicians, social scientists who are great with numbers. And so monetary neutrality says, well, let's push down, right? This is the poll question today, guys. Says, yeah, it is actually probably one recommendation is it's a time for micropolitics. Instead of people getting outraged about gas, outraged about Kamala Harris and these things that have nothing to do with the problem, a problem that I argue, my argument, my opinion is that Trump created the crisis we're in right now, where inflation is at 3.8%, and we have no clue what actually comes next. He's posturing more wars in Venezuela. He's posturing more war in Iran. And he's already entered into, in the first place, a war in Iran and killed 200 girls in that country. More so, probably. And so when I ask which is an example of micropolitics, these are examples of asking, well, what can you do, right? When we're talking about trust, we're talking about maybe high value investments, things that are relatively in a small way more efficient to do now. They also respond to sort of the inability or whatever stuck levers they are. Can we invest in education? Can we maybe pull in ineffective forms of globalization and push more out? Are there policy choices not at the level of AOC, right? That's the one wrong answer. AOC holding a press conference from Congress, any GOP politician holding a press conference from Congress, that's the wrong answer right now. This is political science. This is about inflation. So how would you actually make that connection in your own life? If I'm so smart, right? I'm so smart. How do you make that connection in your own life? Mr. Lono, that's an incredibly violent, I don't know, you should probably download this entire stream and rewatch it. We are covering why you are acting cucked, right? This is an opinion. You're letting another man tell you your values. You're letting another man tell you how the machine of the world works. And none of that is correct, right? You are both producing subjective, violent, lazy opinions. But it's not just that. It's also you're going to be invoking things that in any world is like putting a square peg, if you understand this, a square peg in a round hole, right? And so I would encourage you to pull back, understand what in your own life, you can reset that opinion because it is incredibly inaccurate. Hey, Dorito Chip, great to see you. You're a effing idiot. You don't know. Yeah. So inflation is a macroeconomic issue. It's not a microeconomic issue. So when you say we're going to go to war, your own opinion, yeah, genius, right? Let me go through and teach it to you how you want it to be taught. I'm happy to do so. But you want Donald Trump to do more microeconomics, inefficient, the same microeconomics that created the problem in the first place. So you want Donald Trump to give Northrop Grumman and defense tech CEOs big money. Cool, Mr. Lono. I don't know if that's what I didn't know. So you want Donald Trump to go fund more military companies that are going to further increase the risk and the cost of oil, further exacerbate trade tensions. You want Donald Trump to do these things that affect products that are already inflated, right? This is what inflation is. Your purchasing power goes down. When the economy isn't growing, your savings rate, all of this stuff goes down, right? Inflation exacerbates this. Consumer trust goes down. So you want Donald Trump to go to Cuba and do more of that. That makes zero sense. This is a macroeconomic issue, and it's also curiously not an issue that macroeconomics can solve. So you analyze it, right? You have the geniuses, you have the math geniuses at the Fed and central banks, and then Goldman Sachs, they're looking at this saying, well, I don't know, I didn't want to make choices a while back, and now I am, right? And so this is where political economists recommend micropolitics and monetary neutrality, right? You don't make choices and you bring things back to the small level. Tariffs are theft, right? Tariffs are illegal. They're theft. It is another example of stealing from other countries to pay small business owners who didn't do their job in the first place. It's not conservative. You don't know anything about the economy. Open up a Wikipedia article, right? This is the stupidity. Donald Trump is dog walking you and your family through how to conduct violence. He's dog walking you through how to create a fascistic regime. He's dog walking you through how to accidentally be the biggest failure in history for the second time. Conservatives would say, well, Donald Trump has committed overreach, right? Donald Trump doesn't have a right to tax you to pay to pay missile launcher producers because he wants to play army. Big boy Donald Trump, right? He got so upset, right? He didn't like that he couldn't fiddle with widow wampuses. He didn't like that he couldn't go touch these widow women that he went on dates with. He didn't like that there were big law books going behind him. He got so upset. It was so unfair. And so now that he's the big man and nobody can tell him what to do except every circuit court in the country, Donald Trump wants you to invest in missile launchers. He wants you to go send all your taxpayers so now nobody will say mean things to him again. Aww. So I'm an idiot. You're allowing, that is the person who cucked you, right? That is the person who is cucking America. That's embarrassing. Not once in my life. Not once in my life. Trump lives rent-free in your head. That is all wrong. All wrong. Not my problem. Not my problem. You ask me to go big, right? You say, hey, go big, homie. Go big, Lono. Go big, Lono. No, I can read a book. Like I said, I can much more quickly. If I want to go do a CrossFit workout, I want to go do a Murph. I want to go do a Murph after this. Whatever. I'm not trying to be Alpha Chad, but I can read something small. I can refresh my memory about, hey, what if A happens, what does B do, right? If A happens, what does B do? How will I respond? How can I contextualize, better form an opinion, right? Better educate others. And so I get to read a small book instead of going out and talking about TDS. Everything I don't know is TDS, right? Yeah. Yeah, I don't care. You might be from Nigeria. You might be from India. You might be from the Philippines. You might be from Japan. You might be from the European Union. I don't care. I don't need to say TDS because I don't understand something, right? I can go Wikipedia. We can have a chat here that's friendly and respectful. Sir, what cult is this? There's no cult. If you see cult-like behavior, or if you have evidence, Nadav, what cult we're in, please let me know. If you guys have deep religious connotations you'd like to share, please let me know. I don't believe I'm doing that. I believe I provide evidence. If I ask you to update your belief, I say update your belief. You're not a software program, but here's the evidences. If your belief prior to this was there's 100% chance, I have certainty Donald Trump was a good president. Donald Trump has to be a good president. I'm saying I don't care. I literally don't care about that, right? It's not that I want you to change your mind. I'm just saying, well, in most worlds, a rational or irrational, self-interested person would say, well, if Donald Trump is steering us off a cliff, he's asking to go do more of the thing that's gotten us into this inflation crisis in the first place. If there is no geopolitical threat, right? There is no threat that is this confounding that even the Saudis, who are neighbors with Iran, are saying, well, yeah, you guys are going to keep doing, but we ain't sure. We'll ride if you ask us and demand that we ride, but here's our riding criteria, right? So even the worst of enemies in the region doesn't want what Donald Trump wants. And so there's great reason to reject the argument. Duck-shaped Trump man. Hey, what up, honey, for real? I don't know who that is. You have no evidence. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Hey, what's up, Adam Setti? If I know you, I know you. Because it's hard to follow your train of thought. Oh, word? Well, I mean, a cult leader would say the train of thought is simple. There's 100% certainty you should hire a technocratic political leader to lead us through this. You don't even need that, right? In olden days, you would have senior members of the GOP, our conservative party, our Labor Party, the Progressive Democrats in the United States. You would say, well, here's what the higher ranking officials of these parties should do. Those most in tune with the zeitgeist, those most in tune with global issues, because you need those most in tune with domestic politics issues, those most in tune with technically how this works. You would have a small sit down and you would say, well, look, the federal government isn't going to solve anything if the federal government created this problem in the first place. And if the problem is that there's too much neoconservative policymaking. This is not right. The specific cause, right? You can be ideological, maybe that's something to discuss, but the specific cause is neoconservative national policies pushed by Donald Trump that say spend on bombs, drill, 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 and then blow, blow up, blow up, blow up, cut ties, cut ties, cut ties, weaken international trade, weaken liberalization. Don't use correct words like globalization, right? So we've lost trust, we've lost the ability to operate efficiently. And then so Donald Trump is going to say, well, think about microeconomics, think about the poor heartland, all these poor oil companies, think about the people growing cows and chickens for your family, right? Think about these American wooden manufacturers. So he's saying, think about all this stupid shit, all this stupid stuff, and what happens? Hell yeah, if I could be a lead actor, that'd be sick. That would be sick, guys. Like button is free, guys. If you guys want to like and subscribe, check out my most recent video. It's very good. It talks about national security, but it should be addressable, right? I ask your opinion about things like technology. I do ask your opinion about things like climate change a little bit, but I ask about what you think about the end of the Cold War, guys. Are you happy living in a free country like the United States? Why was it in the 1990s and now in 2026 again, we're seeing political extremism. We used to talk about things like jihad and these sort of delusions that are produced in Western societies. But this was specific and made to be tangible. It was something that was on top of a lot of other issues at that time. Hey, I also want to shout out, while I'm scratching my ass and whatever here, I want to shout out I Am Buffoon. We got Titan, one of our favorite doggies, right? We don't make dogs mascots. We don't exploit animals, but Titan's one of our favorite puppers. There's Titan the pup on I Am Buffoon's PFP. So if you guys like, we don't always do these rigorous debates. We are debating, right? Because there's inflation, guys. God damn it, I'm angry. But if you guys want to, shout out mods, be kind of respectful. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone, right? Even if we disagree, I have respect for you. I have respect for you staying and engaging. And it's not my job, right? I'm not your daddy, right? It's just this case that, hey, we can be cool. Hey, what's up, Francis Bennett? Kamala isn't fit to run. I have no idea what that has to do with anything that we're talking about today. Cool. Yeah, Kamala Harris. So if we talk about micropolitics, Kamala Harris had her big plan would have set up micropolitics to be effective, right? She said, well, small business owners often have opinions. Some of those are even conservative, right? Isn't in the first place, Kamala Harris wants more small business owners in 10 years. And so Kamala Harris says this is what the United States should do. If inflation was high under Kamala Harris, which I don't know if it would be, we don't actually know. There's no evidence. There's not enough to say if inflation just magically went up. It doesn't appear that way, right? It appears that there's these one-to-one correlations with gasoline that are ultimately going to come back around and hurt Americans more given Donald Trump's plans and strategies, right? Because he can't actually manage anything on this level of micropolitics per the poll. But Kamala Harris, right? Wouldn't you want to do micropolitics when you have tax-paying businesses, right? Small businesses, you don't get out of paying your taxes, and you also don't get out of having opinions, right? Things come up. You want to see more welfare style economics so your customers can support your business, or you want to see government out of these things. You want to have your community either push out or pull in certain resources. You have these ideas and opinions. You want the local business community as a business owner to either have a larger role, or in many cases, you want them to be able to fund and recognize the work that wealth has produced in a rich place like the United States. And so Kamala Harris, you saying she's not fit to run maybe isn't just irrelevant to the conversation we're having today about Donald Trump's inflation problem, but it may be incorrect. It may be factually incorrect. There may be good reasons and explanations that a progressive Democrat would have been better in the executive, would have been better leading these international levers that seem, all arrows pointing north for Donald Trump. Boy, I don't see it that way. I don't see we're going to visit penguins. We're not going to Santa's workshop, guys. You guys know what this stuff is, and I think it's time for another great reset, not just in AI, not just in the markets, but in politics too, guys. We got to get our heads around this. Micropolitics is how you get your head around it. It's a used shoe. It's a used shoe. Another boring stream about it. Hey, Kat, great to see you. You, Kamala, isn't fit to run. I don't say that. Are you on my side? Yeah. For us or against us, gas was higher under Biden. Trump is good. Yeah, I mean, I really don't trust you to cite information and data, and this doesn't change the impact, right? Saying that gas was higher under Biden or something like this does not change And I remember seeing almost $9 a gallon in Northern Europe, right? And so in the US, we're seeing some places you see fives and sixes at the pump. So to me, saying that, well, this is a one-to-one correlation with the war in Iran, and Donald Trump has even lost America's grip on global energy prices. He's perhaps pushed us further away from global energy politics. I would find it very difficult. I would find it very difficult to, given that you haven't responded to any other topic, you're just saying, well, under Biden, right? Trump is over Biden. Daddy Trump can't be wrong. That's not a public policy opinion. It's my opinion about another man, right? It's my opinion about this man. I'd have a tough time buying that argument. I don't think you're going to get anything good out of it, and I think it collapses. I think it collapses if you subjectively love another man, and that's the reason why you're making a political belief, right? Love isn't about politics. Love is about love. Also, every Democratic-run state is bad. Yeah, we've seen some of the lowest performing states, like Oklahoma is a great example of a completely failing state. Donald Trump even promotes Wayne Mullins, right? And so people that are really dealing with our connection to government, our connection to government is where the claims of fascism are really coming from. And you're talking to somebody who actually knows some of this stuff, not all of it. So when you don't think, when you don't consider what I say, when you don't really dig deep to come up with an opinion, right, whatever. But it does become a little more obvious and stuff. But yeah, our connection to democracy perhaps is getting weaker. Our connection to a limited government or a government which doesn't have to decide anything is getting weaker. So we would agree on this. And so Oklahoma is a great example of a state that went all MAGA. And for the most part, Oklahoma has shown some of the worst sort of measurements, almost no plan, no improvements, political things which are basically free to do, or it is nonsensical to not do them. They cost more to not solve than they cost to solve. Oklahoma, you promote the guy too, right? You promote the highest ranking politician in the state. So this seems like, again, Donald Trump doing crony forms of neoconservatism. Yeah, so someone losing an election has nothing to do with public policy as well. I'm scrolling down. Hey, what's going on, Sensimilia? Hey, yeah, good to see you. Happy whatever today is, Monday or Tuesday. What is it, folks? What it do? Oh man, I gotta plug my super hyper dashboard in, guys. Yeah, if you guys want to support the stream, we had someone come in, drop a little bit of stream love, some of the stream hype. Guys, those are awesome. They stay on the stream. They show folks that you guys are supporting the stream. Some of those gems, those jewel gifts, cost as little as a couple cents. If you guys have the ability, you're like me, you're in the US, Canada, Australia, Europe, you have the ability to send a couple bucks my way, send some hype for the stream. That stuff's really helps me, right? I know I'm out here grifting, begging, whatever you guys can do. Obviously, I don't need the money and anything like that, but it does help, right? This is my full-time job. So instead of begging, it's very nice. It helps. It supports hugely and stuff like that to you guys. Those super chats, all of it. Free country, freedom of speech. Hell yeah. Yeah. Hey, we don't disagree about loving women. I would say my difference is also supporting women in my political beliefs, right? I think it's first the case that women and even ideology like feminism can and should lead on issues where we're talking about the same constitution, we're talking about the same institutions, the same political bodies. And I can just say, well, look, I haven't heard from you, or not that I'm up here, but it's like, well, why is it the case that I don't have a complete understanding of this? This is maybe like if you guys take a security or like intelligence sort of standpoint, ask like Abigail Spanberger is someone you might ask because she worked for the CIA, right? I'm not saying she's a hero. She might be just as much of a killer as everyone else or whatever. But yeah, she's the governor of Virginia, very popular candidate, rising star in the Democratic Party. She seems to have ambitions which are about reducing violence, reducing environmental impact, producing support for the working class, producing support for all Americans. Actually, right? What a great time to relook at Abigail Spanberger if you like people, because inflation is high, right? Inflation, Donald Trump is not supporting rural America. You guys also, are you going to be saving money in 6 months Are you going to have extra money from your check or whatever you're doing to make ends meet? Because Donald Trump he walked around the coal plants. If I remember, before you voted for him, Donald Trump was walking, right? That sucks. That really does. But Donald Trump was walking around those coal plants saying, yeah, bomb Iran, right? You didn't catch that in the 1990s. You must have missed that part where he was a xenophobic racist, right? He was a religious extremist. He aligned himself with hateful racists. He aligned himself with people that thinks the Bible would tell you about this stuff that's happening today. So he aligned himself with lunatics before he voted for the good old boys, just Donald Trump, right? Just a little bit, get it right on over there. Boy, did he promise. But what about you guys when inflation's 3.8%, but some of that is so painful, right? Some of that's so painful, right? You know those big old trucks that are dropping off your milk? They're dropping off all those things you need and want and love, and boy, would we say it like that. Wow, sure fucking seems like it, right? So the Republican Party, the GOP, MAGA Republicanism supports you when everything you need is going up in price. And that's where you guys want to drop in or start because you didn't catch the Islamophobia. You didn't catch the rest of it. So it seems very odd, right, that you would have any support for a president like Donald Trump. And yeah, really a bummer, right? Ain't it a thing to play politics a little bit, a little hardball? But there you guys go, right? There you guys go. So Donald Trump wants more war. He wants the people who their money that they're earning is driving the conflict. He wants them to be the ones that are sort of seen as this national interest thing. And in reality, it has no relationship, right? A big Boeing or Airbus or airliner CEO or a data center CEO or Raytheon, a person making planes and bombs, their money, their company's investments have nothing to do with the war in Iran. It has nothing to do with the increasing cost of oil. It has nothing to do with the decreased viability of global trade. It has nothing to do with any of this stuff that's actually pushing down and driving the US's problems. And it has nothing to do with the systems that make that viable in the first place. So very strange, very strange. Hey, thanks so much for the thumbs up. Appreciate it. Thank you, Susan. Hell yeah. Thank you. Trump is a fake Christian. He used Christians to win. Heck yeah. Yeah, Trump is a fake Christian. He used Christians to win. Heck yeah. Let's go. Let's go. Mr. Lono is a poser. I don't know that. I don't know, you guys. Yeah, I don't know where you guys are from. This is partially why I try to include terms like nationalism. Oh my gosh, GG's. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Susan. That's very, very generous and very kind. Thank you for the high five. Appreciate it. Thanks. Thanks. And so, so Donald Trump, when I do videos, right, I'm not like MAGA, Donald Trump. You guys can see my last video. Please do go watch the most recent video. It's called Trump's Biggest Mistake, Climate Change, National Security, and Technology. But yeah, it's very informative. It is informed. It has some scholastic components, but it's easy to understand, guys, right? It's very easy to understand. And so if you guys go check that video out, like it, leave a comment. You guys can start it. I'll just mention this. You guys can start a conversation with me anywhere. Same with your other creators. Most of us live on YouTube. So you guys can mention anything on any of my social posts, any of my shorts, any of the videos, right? You guys can check out the blog. Someone mentioned Patreon. I'm not doing Patreon at this time specifically. But yeah, you guys can check that stuff out. But somebody who's come in and dropped some support mentioned Patreon. So I'm going to go check out that channel a little bit. But yeah, mostly when I do videos, I try to talk about nationalism, neoconservatism, religion, these ideologies and big belief systems, because we have people all over the world who tune into Ducks Y. And yeah, it's fun to discuss politics or philosophy together. So we try to do a little bit of all of that. And it's a great way for me, myself, to learn selfishly. Yeah, we've got some apologetics going on, but Lono was asking interesting, great questions, good questions, right? Not just about the unchanging facets of the world, right? If you want to talk about apologetics, it must be a teleos, right? It's a praxis or a purpose, a process, a function, a change. But then you also have unchanging aspects of the world. So someone like Charlie Kirk and other Christian nationalists in Washington who want you to take away your wife's right to vote and get a college degree, They say this is in the Bible, for the Bible tells me so, right? They say that there's these unchanging truths in the world in metaphysics that are transcendental, right? These things are political. They have to be because they're transcendental. And this is a huge difference, right? Donald Trump says, well, Christian nationals are our best friends, right? They love it. They love it. These guys are loyalists, right? These are party loyalists, whatever that means in the United States. They don't vote their interest. They themselves, your pastor, all your colleagues in these places, you're also, right? You've got bugs crawling over you. You guys are also going to be having politicians deciding that you and your family are going to have a harder future, right? You're going to decide that second graders get that one time of year to learn how to read because you don't want to do micropolitics. This is the whole point of the poll, guys. If you see the poll results, right? AOC holding a press briefing, right? Federal politicians, your MAGA representative doing stuff in Washington is not micropolitics. This is what we should be doing right now. So 1 in 4 people is too many, right? 1 in 4 people that claim to hate the federal government, claim to have a disdain for people taking away their freedom, reducing their income. 23% of you thinking that AOC holding a press briefing or Mike Johnson holding a press briefing is what we should be doing right now, that this is an example of micropolitics, is too many. It's too darn high. It's wrong. So Alabama starts a sister cities program. Absolutely. Why wouldn't you want to expose your family and your community to global values, to values in another locality? Close the space between your municipal and someone else's, right? Close the space between your municipal and someone else's, right? Why not Atlanta, Georgia or something? Anywhere. I don't care. Tuscaloosa. I don't care. I really don't care. Wherever it is, you can start a sister cities program. That's one of the things that's been effective during times when inflation is higher. It doesn't make the problem worse. It doesn't push pressure onto the Federal Reserve. It doesn't push pressure for politicians who have no business solving the problem to try and solve it. If Donald Trump acts, political scientists say, well, you will make the problem worse. It's too many people saying 1 in 4 people just have the totally wrong answer. They want to see more. They want to see Marco Rubio out talking. I don't care. That's the wrong answer right now. It's incorrect. It's incorrect. Nothing's going to change that. And so do you understand why something like starting a sister cities program, not celebrating Donald Trump telling your favorite airline company they have to go work somewhere, not Donald Trump telling a Korean they have to invest $1 billion in the US. These are wrong things. These are more top-down things that can make inflation worse. They can push more decision-making power to the Fed and to the Federal Reserve and around monetary policy. They can impact negatively macroeconomics. So Donald Trump doing anything is not the right answer. Something like a small-scale sister cities program. We're holding more town halls. Either looking at re-examining or producing new policy locally on the municipal level that costs nothing about education is the right answer. Things that are cheaper to solve than to not, that build trust, that build understandability, assessing the trash heaps that we have. 1 in 3 are the right answers on the poll. Those are examples of micropolitics. Those are the examples of micropolitics. Oh, I have a political conspiracy video. See what you think. I'll tag you in it. Yeah, please do. Yeah, you guys can absolutely tag me and stuff either. Yeah, even if you guys don't produce content, if you guys do produce content, you can tag me in the video description, tag me in the comments, however it works. But also, if you guys are using YouTube, you can make social style posts and tag me in those. We also have a DucksY community. So if there's something that's relevant to all of the DucksY community, you guys can go to my channel page under community. Mostly only big channels know about this. It's kind of a hidden secret, a little bit it's the secret menu. But if you guys click on community on my main page, I turn that feature on so you guys can start conversations about politics, philosophy, whatever, guys. I don't care. Hey, I ain't a moral judge or anything like this, guys. Anything we want. Hey, good to see you, Daniel. Thanks so much for the support. Great to see you in chat today too. Shout out to you. Happy Tuesday, I believe, right? Is that right? We got a Tuesday. I got a Tuesday. There we go, everyone. Freedom of speech and aggression are things in the USA. Cool. Hell yeah. Yeah, I don't know what that means. That doesn't seem right or informed, but cool. Yeah, I mean, Obamacare is an example of realpolitik. It's something that expanded coverage in both age ranges as well as social classes. And it did so, right? It wasn't class-based politics, it was a market-based exchange. So a huge example of realpolitik. It's a campaign promise being fulfilled in a viable way that also happened during a really scary time, right? It was a time when the U.S. was spending millions of barrels of oil a day. From our own, even our own selfish perspective, we were taxing ordinary Americans to go fight and kill people we had never met, that we didn't know. We had no context for the political sort of space we were operating in. These were nation states that we had very little overlapping interests. The tribalization and global jihad narrative really had very little to do with it. And and when we were thinking about our own bias towards things like either welfare economics or ensuring liberalism was producing understandable market information, right? Things that our German friends, perhaps would say, yeah, go do Hayek, go do Milton Friedman, I don't care, right? Stop pushing policies that are going to extend sanctions. Stop doing these things that they themselves are not like unforgivable. Who knows? You obviously will never forget these things, but the state of the world that you can analyze, as well as the bitter aggressions we formed, got worse during those time periods. And so his job as president was not to be a partisan hack, but to lead the United States through this. So one big issue that was domestically problematic was health insurance. My way of telling the story as a progressive Democrat voter is he gave health companies the chance to participate in this new initiative. He gave the chance for new market entrants. He gave the chance to make more transparent information about how actually delivering in service to patients worked. And if you didn't like it, then why don't you run in your own district like he did? Go organize, right? Go become a democratic socialist like Zoran Mamdani, and then go look at the budget, right? Hire a bunch of finance experts, and suddenly you'll realize you're not doing democracy, you're not doing freedom, you're planning something. So Obama didn't say we're planning something. Obamacare was not socialist. Obama was not a communist. Obama was not a socialist. This was a solution that also solved problems for Americans, in my view, in my opinion. MAGA man is cooked if they actually believe Biden was an enemy of the Constitution like their cult leader, Daddy King Trump is. It's freaking pathetic. It's freaking pathetic. Yeah, a lot of Americans participated in campaigning for Obama, right? He had an actual grassroots campaign. At the time, if you guys remember the Tea Party, including Donald Trump's, right? So Donald Trump, you're MAGA. Back then, MAGA Republicanism, he was saying Obama wasn't born in the U.S. Talk about the birth certificate. And so now we are explaining second grade facts about science and nature to grown adults. We have grown adults who are learning from 21-year-olds without high school diplomas like Cam Higbee, these investigative journalists that MAGA has said, yeah, you can basically put on the armband or whatever it is, and then you're an investigative journalist for MAGA's GOP. And we are still, again, explaining second grade facts to these people. They're uninformed. They are unintelligent. And it's not just that they're uninformed and unintelligent, they're also incredibly biased, right? That's what identity politics is. You are the evolved form of the white supremacy coming from Charlottesville, right? What did it evolve into? It evolved into a more focused and targeted nationalist moment. And this does, like we're talking about today, impact macroeconomic perspectives, microeconomic perspectives, and it once again flies in the face of even more complex when you make a mess or a problem that others like me, your daddy has to clean up, right? Duck's your daddy. When Duck has to come in and clean stuff up, it is more complicated than the things that you did, right? Because you're an idiot. You are able to eat a breakfast sandwich, make a cup of coffee, and then go fuck stuff up for the rest of the day, right? That is what it means if your drill instructor in the Army were to say you are a fuck up. That's what you did. You ate breakfast, you basically shit on yourself, you wiped it off, and then you went and messed shit up for the rest of the day using your breakfast and your coffee. And so when we have to clean stuff up, it is a more complex argument than the one that you messed up in the first place. So there is a reason that we should be frustrated from a operational capacity or as a democratic participant saying that, well, now whatever you actually decide to get out of this, there's humans in their life that don't get to talk about their own actual stated values. They're cleaning up the mess of this childish, immature, hateful, spiteful, petty, and deluded president, right? This is a man who thinks that his opinions and emotions count for causation in this world, and this isn't the case. I believe they're dancing or they're wrestling. That looks like wrestlers. That's a cool emoji. You can download the certificate from the government website. Yeah, identity politics is a joke, right? I had to clarify this, guys. I had to clarify this. I do. If you guys leave me comments, this is the type of quality of response. Someone came to yell at me in my own comment section, and I was like, cool, right? This is YouTube. I love when the algorithm drops some folks off that want to have a discussion. But I had to tell them, I said, look, for me, identity politics is a stage that we reach, right? We earn the right to share about where we come from and how that experience, our feelings, our subjectivity is about the world, right? I don't want to talk in the first place about being objective. I want to talk about facts that I know, beliefs that I hold that you can also know, right? This isn't meant to be subjective in the sense that I have my own world, my own set of neurons that you can also know. And so when we say that someone like Charlie Kirk supported identity politics, and what Charlie knew was that people, like the thing Charlie actually knew, that was that you would support pseudoscience, right? If you believed in Christian-based policies, you also had to support pseudoscience or science denial, right? And so these types of things, if you are supporting Donald Trump in this period of high inflation, you also are supporting either pseudoscience or science denial. If you do so for Christian reasons, nothing changes. If you do so for GOP or conservative reasons, nothing changes, right? Supporting Donald Trump in this period of high inflation where he's produced none of the right answers, or I'm being like, who knows, maybe I am, right? God's helping me. My CIA overseers are helping me. They're delivering me the right answer, the right resources that I can understand good enough to communicate. But, right? So we're talking about micropolitics. We are talking about this. We're talking about this. We love it, right? So I'm going to put a make-believe. I'm going to remind you guys of Epstein-Iden. We love it, right? What's the Epstein-Biden connection? Can you guys remind me? What was the Epstein-Biden connection? In chat, can you guys let me know Epstein-Biden? I think it was Epstein-Trump, if I remember correctly, right? Right. And so monetary neutrality, micropolitics, we are cleaning up the mess that that men who allowed other men to tell them their values and beliefs, that convinced you to ship your beliefs to the dinner table to raise your kids on this stuff. Hugely embarrassing, guys. Hugely embarrassing. I mean, I'm just saying, you guys say no women in sports, but what's the reality? Yeah, you support ideas about masculine psychology, which are just that, psychology, right? When I'm a fucking man, I'm actually out in the world, bitch. Hey, I'm not saying it's funny. I'm not saying you should laugh at that, but yeah, I am a fucking man out in the world when I'm a man out in the world, bitch. Why? Because I got I got research papers and shit. I can go work out thinking about something that's actually about what's going on in the world. What do? You guys cry under your little tutu shoes, right? You pray that, who was it this time? Jack P's not going to be talking about opening up a sex shop at a local pizza joint. Right? So you guys don't have birth certificate bullshit. You guys don't have Charlie Kirk to go back to run to, like the little cuck boy that he was. You guys don't see now. You guys don't see in 2026. Charlie Kirk didn't have a single accurate political belief in his whole life. It was pseudoscience. It was science denial. It was ideological. It was based on childish myths and superstitions. Charlie Kirk didn't win a debate once in his life. Why? Because Charlie Kirk lied the entire time. What would he say to change my mind? I could go into a conversation with Charlie Kirk and, hey, thank you so much for those little kissy faces, Julius. I appreciate it. We got mouths, we got kissies. Mwah. Hell yeah. Hey, what's up, babe? Hey, what's up? Shout out. Did I shower today? Hey, what's up? Did you have coffee today? Hey, thank you. Thank you so much. That's enough. That's enough. Thank you. I'm going to give you just the quick little bing bong right here. Thank you so much. Hey, what's up, UG? How are you doing? We got huge topics. UG, we're talking about the federal, very simple. We're talking the Federal Reserve. We're talking central banks not being able to fix inflation problems, right? So monetary neutrality is this term. If they didn't create the problem, can technocracy and design go down and fix it? And we're talking about micropolitics, not even about money, right? This is one to me as someone like you who is a Buddhist atheist. We have very similar worldviews, UG. I love this one because the solution to a financial problem actually does look like telling people, go do what you're passionate about. Go do what is authentically something you're interested in. Go find some hard-fought policy decisions and stuff like that. So cool. A little political economy and stuff like that. Whatever. But yeah, man, these crazy mofos out there. Hey, good to see you, lessonlessness. Great to see you today. Happy Tuesday. Yeah, happy Tuesday, guys. I had a little coffee. I might go refresh my coffee in just a minute here. If I have any left on the pot, I'm gonna be excited about that. The American left can't debate and will only attack. Yes, Charlie Kirk wasn't a coward. Being a coward has nothing to do with anything, right? Being a coward has nothing to do with anything. Charlie Kirk was a fucking idiot. You say he wasn't a coward, and I say, okay, cool. He's a moron, right? Charlie Kirk sounded like he had brain damage. Charlie Kirk believed in Charlie just a little bit more than he believed in anyone else. And so when you are a narcissistic or egotistical, even a little bit, right? Everything is selfish. Everything is selfish. You're closed-minded. You're closed-minded to other people. And yeah, you believe in also, right? You believe in your worldview allows you to believe in superstition, mythology in cases where it doesn't apply, right? Like Charlie Kirk would be useless today. This is a day where Charlie Kirk and Turning Point couldn't talk about high inflation. He would spread lies. He would tell you, get closer, right? This would be what Charlie Kirk would do today, is Charlie Kirk would tell you, get closer to religious iconography. Get closer to MAGA Republican national iconography. Talk more about how Charlie Kirk, in a debate about abortion, said that he wanted to go out and murder pedophiles. Sorry, guys, I'm not going to say that again. But this is something that Charlie Kirk was saying and talking about in a debate about abortion. How does that come up, right? Not because you're not a coward, but because you have a very low IQ, because you're not very intelligent. So to me, that is one of those sort of signs, those indicators that you're not dealing with a person who should be involved in politics, not in the level of policy. So outside of who Charlie was and wanting to be analyzed as Charlie Kirk, you can just say, well, Charlie, what's your, hey, buddy, Charlie person, sir, what is your contribution to policy in the United States, right? What do you know? What's your expertise? I'm not asking you to get into 800 pages of law. But yeah, if you are looking at how the law is written, if you're looking about how it's administered, how that is produced ultimately and decided upon, what's your contribution to policy, Charlie? And Charlie had none, right? Charlie said, well, when you get close enough to the American flag and the Constitution, throughout his entire life, right, nothing would have changed this. All he could say was, yeah, you have to love it. You have to really love it and want it. And that's not right. That's not politics. That's a low IQ person making excuses for himself. Charlie Kirk, I don't know Charlie Kirk as a person, Michael Stevens, but he was certainly not skilled at politics. He was certainly not a leader. Charlie Kirk was not a civic leader. He was a selfish person who led through indoctrination and misinformation. Yeah. And he was a social media star too, right? So he was like every other social media star, every other Myron Gaines or Andrew Tate. There's no difference, right? You can't contribute to a policy discussion. You can't talk about identity in a way that is useful at all. You can only express your own identity. So what kind of contribution? Cool. Yeah, good for you. I don't know why it would be my business that you love Charlie Kirk or don't love Charlie Kirk. We're talking about Charlie Kirk relative to what I would call scholastic politics, which is some combination of philosophy, political science, and politics. So yeah, also no one's business. Cool. You love Obama. Yeah. I maybe have a little more positive emotions towards I ooh about Obama a little more than Charlie Kirk. But yeah, really, I don't care, right? That's not ultimately going to change anything in the end. You guys know about making a point in the end. It's not going to change anything that you love Charlie Kirk. Or if I love Charlie Kirk, that still doesn't change anything, right? I can disagree with anyone. I can agree with anyone. When it's time to analyze a policy or political perspective, and for my own belief is also asking others to consider other evidences to update their own belief. That's what I would do. You're definitely no Charlie Kirk. Yeah, I would take that as a very odd, massive compliment. That's an odd thing to say, right? That sounds like something a cannibal would say, first of all, right? You're definitely no Charlie Kirk. Like, if you actually look at yourself writing that and what's going on in your brain when you write, you're not Charlie Kirk, obviously. And if that wasn't just an incoherent or an abusive type of statement, right, meant to be abusive, meant to be dehumanizing, meant to talk about a hierarchy, right, if it was meant to actually be any of these things in reality, one of the things that I would tell you is that, thank God, right, I would never want to be Charlie Kirk. Yeah, if I was Charlie Kirk, I would quit my job. I would give Turning Point over to someone competent and fix myself. If I realized, if I had even a small glimpse of what I was doing, I have too much respect for myself as a being like others, and I have too much respect for other beings to be like Charlie Kirk, which he was an abusive, hateful, uninformed, spiteful, selfish, incompetent, inept, poorly spoken, poorly researched, poorly read, poorly planned too, right? He had racism running rampant in Turning Point according to these leaks. So yeah, there were text leaks, there were communications threads. So I would, if I was Charlie Kirk myself, I would not be a part of the organization that I founded. Very simple. And that's okay, right? You can work yourself out of a job. You can work yourself to a problem where you don't have the intellectual or emotional capacity to maintain effectiveness, where either your intuition or judgment, your ability to compute or understand information for what it is, isn't at the level you need it to be. And that's precisely what Turning Point also is and was, right? Charlie's widow, so respect obviously to Erica Kirk, now the CEO, right? She's the CEO of Turning Point. Was smarter and more qualified than Charlie, right? She may also be a completely delusional, yeah, she maybe holds belief in things like the earth is 6,000 years old, or someone who believes the earth is 6,000 years old wants to set a meeting with her and talk to her about that idea. She's someone who might take that meeting and think their input is valuable, right? Very strange, very, very strange stuff, right? I'm not saying that that's a prerequisite. I wouldn't put it on a job description. But if that's what you're coming with, it's like, cool, I've done that too. The reason isn't that I'm judging you, right? I would say you're an idiot most likely. Like if we had a debate or discussion, I'd probably think, yeah, that's right on that line of me thinking that you're not that smart. You probably also hold hateful or conspiratorial beliefs in some sense. I would just guess, most likely, it would come out. But then it would also be the case that, yeah, I've read that, right? It turns out I went to Catholic school, so I studied religion for more than 4 years, for more than an hour a day. I went to church. I went to church camps. I went to church events. And as an adult, I've also revisited the Bible. So I may know more about the Bible than the person who believes the earth is 6,000 years old because they're an expert on the Bible. So that's a weird one to square, but it's also not for me to square, right? Yeah, you can look at facts, right? If you guys are debating about that, I want to jump in a little bit. Just an opinion, yeah, you guys can see if there's something that you know that someone else can know. This is the whole point of modal logic. But yeah, less formally, right? Less formally, when we're having a good faith conversation, we're being friendly. We don't see winning and losing or maintaining on the top of our hierarchy or whatever you thought it was or said it was or whatever. Who knows, right? I don't know. Not my problem, not my computation. Maybe Charlie Kirk and Erica Kirk were at the top of their hierarchy. I don't know if Charlie saw anything that way, if he believed the world worked that way, but yeah, it's a great question for the Turning Point folks to explore if they want to keep Charlie's memory alive. That's either true or false. Right? Yeah, again, not for me. If that was what the guy believed, it's what the guy believed, right? I don't give a shit. I don't want to waste my time on that. I have adult problems to solve. I don't have little kid problems to think about. And so, yeah, right? Hey, here's what daddy wants you to tell your kids, right? Charlie tells you how to raise your kids eventually. Here's what daddy Charlie Kirk would want you to tell your kids that he would tell his own kids. Ew, I'm staying away from that. But yeah, if you're talking about just an opinion, opinions probably should, right? Things that aren't just random phenomenology, right? Random brain spats, things that aren't just like when you take a sip of coffee, maybe you can slow down, right? It's like wine tasting. You can have a sip of wine and this is phenomenology and it tastes some way or it doesn't taste some way. There's some neurons and you contextualize what this experience means or why you are doing it in the first place. And so you have an experience, you have an actual experience of drinking wine. Opinions aren't just that, right? You can believe that there's conferable knowledge or information in an opinion. So if I tell you, why do you believe in micropolitics during periods of high inflation? And I would say, well, first, experts believe it. Second, I remember it from my education. Third, you can go up and actually look at data tables. You can look at examples of micropolitics working, and there's many examples, right? And so I would say third, it requires an explanation if things that qualify as micropolitics produce similar data and similar results in many different places for many different issues, and it's expansive. Thirdly, it bears maybe bears an explanation or requires an exploration. If I say, well, it's also logical that if you're a heavy person, being a heavy person isn't going to solve being a lighter person, right? You would actually ask the thing that does that. So just the relationship between domestic politics, local politics, municipal politics, and these technocratic bodies like the feds, that also requires an explanation. These are all things people could say that, again, don't require you to be a super genius, but Charlie Kirk said none of these types of things. Charlie Kirk maybe didn't have the ability to understand it or to stick to it, right? Because, again, he was first a hateful person. Charlie Kirk was incredibly hateful towards things that weren't about Charlie and the people Charlie believed in being themselves out front. So, yeah. So he was a spiteful person who pursued his self-interest until the end. So rest in peace, Charlie. I'll cry a second time next year. Yeah. You'll go next to my right. Charlie's gonna be living in my own body and brain, right next to my buddy Alex, who got shot and he got killed in Aurora, Colorado. So turns out I've been through it. Charlie, you're on year 1, right? Alex is going on about year 10 or so. Yeah, I was working for the Human Rights Campaign at this time. I was working for the Human Rights Campaign. I was it was very stupid. It was door-to-door grassroots campaigning for gay rights. So impactful work, cool conversations. And so I get back and, my wife, whatever, this girl I was seeing at the time was crying and told me our friend Alex had gotten killed. There was a shooting in Aurora, Colorado, or I got a text or something. And yeah, turns out that he got shot going to a premiere at a movie, right? Maybe someone had heard about it, but we heard Alex was one of the victims of this attack the next day, right around lunchtime. And so, yeah, I had a really bad year with it, bad day, right? Really bad day with it last year. I think someone messaged me about, Alex's death, and I had a really bad day with it and stuff. So Charlie's going in the same place, right? In my own brain and body. Yeah, Charlie was a victim of political violence. Very sad, yeah, very sad. I had an early release day that day, so I was doing dad stuff. And so I saw the story, and then, we went out to get some lunch or something like this. And then when we were going through, we were on our way back. I saw the notification or an update that Charlie, he'd been declared. They'd found like all the stuff, and so I was very sad about that. But yeah, boy, in the political and economic sense, Charlie was a massive piece of shit, right? This guy was a huge piece of shit. That doesn't mean he wasn't a person. He was a hateful, uninformed, spiteful, lying, deceptive, self-interested piece of shit. Yeah, not an animal, right? This was a guy that basically had brain damage and was allowed to, as he should be, he was allowed to go run around and grown adults. The most embarrassing part is, you're a good old fashioned mechanic, right? You're a construction worker, just like guys like us blue collar guys. We've all done it. We've all been through it. They understand. And so, yeah, but you're a 30-year-old man or a 40-year-old guy or a 50-year-old guy, and you let this dipshit Charlie tell you what to think. You let him tell you to teach your family to be conspiracy theorists. Whether or not science is your first language, you teach them to deny that this is just a way the world works. Pray to God, pray to Jesus. Yeah, you got cucked by Charlie. The nicest thing I could say about him from across the aisle, politically and socially, was, Charlie cucked all of you guys, right? Charlie made you guys all cucks. Charlie Kirk cucked you, and you guys let him. And now you're letting Donald, right? You guys said, well, now that this one's run out, the battery's dead, battery's dying. Now we got to let Donald Trump do it. What? John, that sounds like your question. Stop posturing like that question is for anyone except yourself. Why don't you reread what you just wrote and then answer it yourself, dude? What happened? Liberals are so hateful. Oh, I don't know. whatever, guys. Yeah, if you guys want to send me, not Hizzle, but you guys are interested in the conversations we're having here, consider sending some super chat gifts. Go support your other favorite streamers, guys. I've had a great month, great couple of days, couple of weeks. But yeah, go support some of the other folks here. And yeah, we're not in it for the long haul, folks. But if you guys want to make my day, feel free to make my day. Yeah. So John, I'd recommend you don't get divorced from, or people that are supporting Charlie Kirk's political work get married to, not divorced from, causation and the systems that he was seeking to work in. All right. And so again, the main topic of the stream today, when we're talking about inflation being related to micropolitics, inflation being related to monetary neutrality, is two terms you can know, right? Two terms you can know when inflation is high. Inflation is 3.8%. Micropolitics is shifting things away from the federal level, and it's shifting pressure away from the Federal Reserve and other central banks from making technocratic choices that don't solve inflation. They satisfy political demands. And so people in the US may look at things like grocery, may look at things like gas, may look at things like their confidence, the job market, wages, and these are things that maybe economically have nothing to do with the problem. In other places, there may be cultural determinants. Your economy works just like ours, but it's just the case certain products, goods, and services, or the labor market is viewed differently. And so there's different pressures for technocracy, right? Same problem that people everywhere want Daddy Trump or Daddy government to solve this problem of economics, of inflation. 3.8%, very high for the US, very high for the US. And so in these cases, 4% is absurd. It's unheard of. It's scary, right? And so savings rates will eventually drop. You'll see purchasing power is already down. And so we should say, hey, let's go do the things that are too dumb to not do, that are effective investments on the municipal, local level. Let's get closer ties to our own government. Let's get better understanding of factionalism and economic thinking in micropolitics. Let's do things like build globalization that isn't exploitative, but actually works. We can reel some of this in naturally. Inefficiencies in the market will do that. And we can figure out what the more efficient solution might be. So it is about economic thinking. It's a little bit about values and your political opinion thinking. So micropolitics and then monetary neutrality means that, yeah, we should not have a politicization. We should not have ideology determining what central banks are able to do. Hey, thanks for being here, lesson listeners. Good to see you. Have a great day. Cool. Yeah, so that one ace that just tends to have absolutely nothing to do with what's going on today, and it never really had anything to do with anything going on ever. So if you wanted to live your own life and wanted Big Brother out of it, or you want Daddy Trump, whatever, you wanted to see the GOP party become a party of cucks. You wanted leaders in the GOP to cuck you. Now you have MAGA republicanism, right? There are still traditional classic conservatives who don't want to cuck you. In fact, they would say, please don't. Please do the opposite. And yet that's not what's happening today. And so this is a great example. You guys had more fun. You guys had your fun listening to Joe Rogan. You had your fun listening to doctors who are doing identity politics, hateful people like, what was her name? Dr. Rhonda. Yeah, absolutely hateful person who basically said, yeah, my context for the science is now the science, right? It's my context, then the science, right? This isn't about the belief that is conferred based on looking at available research. And it's also not a sort of a all-encompassing belief based on looking at other people's experiences. So I don't mind intersectionality. I don't mind pulling from group-based theory, even though that's not the determinant of what I believe at the end of the day. I do believe in individualism. I believe in liberalism, right? I don't believe that methodologies and groupthink are incompatible with that. I do believe there can be very valid empirical methods. And so these are all sources, right? I'm not narrowing the sources I can take information from because I'm a curious person. I believe it's intriguing. But then you see identity politics taking the place of science and you wonder what in your brain went wrong? What in God's fucking green acres did you eat this day? What heavy lead product did you eat where you see people that sound like they have brain damage. They don't. They're just that hateful, right? They are so full of themselves and so hateful. They sound and look like they have brain damage. They cannot speak coherent sentences. Their words sound muddied and muddled. And you don't look at yourself. You don't review your post-production footage. You don't see yourself and think, well, boy, it sure sounds like my brain and body is trying to signal or tell me something, like I really messed up. What world is this where there's not intuition and judgment? There's nothing that's self-examined. There's nothing, our intuition breaks in society. It's very sad. Thoughts on Luigi Mangione? Yeah, he was a lone wolf political extremist, right? And he's a murderer. So, he probably has something that is wrong in his brain. His brain is not doing tasks, right? When you think about plasticity, there's probably something that is not producing the sort of dopamine. When we think of dopamine, serotonin, there's probably a disease process that is making him someone who has not traditionally displayed symptoms of ASPD, antisocial personality disorder. If you were to talk to a person, they say, well, hey, there's the thing. It's not all encompassing, not who you are, but there's at least the thing. There's probably some genetic or chemical or biological metabolic indicator that, yeah, this was about ASPD. It was also about, who knows? I don't know. It was about some form of mental illness. Also, just holding extremist beliefs while having that. Very dangerous combination. A plus A equals B, right? There you go. And so he's now, his next life process is the major one, at least. Something easy to recognize is he's going through the criminal justice process. And yeah, it seems from what they've made publicly available, does seem like he's guilty of this crime. It doesn't seem like there was some conspiracy going on. Seems like he got caught red-handed with these things. Seems like this wasn't new. It seems he wrote it out. Same with the Trump's the White House, the guy accused and arrested in the White House for running through with a assault-style weapon. But yeah, the weird part, maybe we glorify violence, we glorify gun ownership in society. These things are very public. There's YouTube channels dedicated to looking at a thing that cuts through something like butter, cutting through those things, and we celebrate this. We right, the enshittification or the dumbification of things is that you tell people this is educational or learning. It's not just entertainment, but you learned something, right? We trick ourselves. Instead of saying that we can learn as a global community, we tell ourselves that, well, there is no cultural context, and everything is educational. Looking at a slice of pizza is educational. It's not. It's not, guys. I'm not saying that I want to be a great professor or teacher, but I can tell you that some guy plinking targets is not educational. I can also tell you that that went hard because he was in pain. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So he was in, yeah. So, I mean, that's very stupid, right? My dad has shingles, right? So what's the relationship? What's the actual philosophical relationship? If my dad had shingles, shingles is like a very painful version of the chicken pox or something like that. But if my dad has shingles, so you're saying that my dad has a justification or doesn't condone it, but there's something that's justified about him having shingles and wanting to commit an act of violence? What? What? You're not Canadian? I don't support, yeah. Yeah, Brian, I mean, that is, you basically just endorsed. I gotta time you out, brother. I gotta send you away, and I'm not that upset about it. So that's a 24-hour timeout. You'd have to, yeah, bye. Yeah, Brian Thompson was, yeah. So that is another example of not only a violent, hateful belief. If you guys condone political violence, it's also completely lacking evidence. What theory supports that political violence is a viable means to accomplish any ends in the present context or the context in which you're applying it? I'll tell you, the short answer is there is no theory. It's not that there's a deep state conspiracy. It's not that people are afraid of studying it. It is that every time you study the effects of violence, what do you get? You have to spend more money and time and manpower on security, and then that's easily corruptible. So the best case scenario is you have a more corrupt, more expensive security infrastructure. That is the best case scenario. This doesn't move you closer to closing the gaps on either ideological or identity-based or economic issues. Violence, and it sounds very stupid that you have to explain this, that there is not a bad guy, there is not a great man that is stopping you from living your best life. Go watch, right? People in chat, if you guys support violence and armed society as a safe, peaceful society, Jesus Christ, yeah. So you guys support violence. You think violence accomplishes anything. Why don't you guys go watch Why Are You Here? Go watch Andrew Tate. He'll tell you that, yeah, you can be the great man making you lead your best life. Go watch Myron Gaines. Go watch Turning Point. Go back to the people that already support the narrative that produces nothing in your life in reality. It makes you worse. It makes you an idiot. Go watch these people that tell you that you, I don't know how else to say it. You get Gucci suitcases, you have Louis Vuitton sunglasses, you guys get the Belugianis, right? You guys send me a red super chat. I'm saving for Belugiani sunglasses. I'm saving for Belugiani sunglasses, guys. I need it. I'm in US. I have USD bills. I'm saving for Belugiani sunglasses. I'm saving for vegan Egyptian cotton hair gel. I'm saving for 6,000 thread count undershirts, white t-shirts that I will send through the dry cleaner once per month, right? I'm going to start eating vegan whole foods. I will not shower. I will rub sea salt and endangered pink pumice on my armpits. And I will live my best life like Andrew Tate told me because, and when you ask why it's happened, I'll say, well, look, I have this plinker thingy, right? I read the Bible and I have a firearm. So I am the great man responsible for my best life and my own success. I wouldn't kill Hitler. No. Hitler did it himself, right? Was that a myth? That was a myth. I told this, my World War II narrative, right? My Hegelian version of World War II was that what we actually saw was Germany did not have a German miracle. Germany built a pile of shit. It could not support the energy expense. It could not support the political aggressions, and so it had to expand. So Hitler was not an effective leader. He was not an effective economist. He was not effective at diplomacy. Hitler was a dipshit. He was not intelligent. He was like someone who had brain damage or traumatic brain damage from going to war. Hitler was an idiot, right? Hitler was an idiot. And so the debate isn't your Hitler facts versus someone else's or your facts about Germany in 1939 versus someone else's. It is what the overarching fact was. It's not the debate. It is the overarching fact was Germany was not a competitive country and they had a warlike leader who was more than happy to order people around and make laws about that, right? You are not as bad as these other people. You are also a good person if you go and make airplanes. You're a good person if you man the airplanes and go fly them, man the tanks, right? This is all Hitler said. And this is how stupid and deluded the national cause in Germany became. The national cause in Italy was the exact same. That people got so used to looking at things in terms of their identity or their feelings, their comfort about them, about being afraid that the world could actually be different outside of how they imagined it to be, that it could be the case that they just made so many really bad political decisions. And so you get around to some year and then what happens, right? What happens? Well, Hitler needs to invade the Nordics to steal their oil. He needs to invade Poland because someone's going to try to stop them, right? He needs these allies in these other countries that have obviously nothing in common with German nationalism. They have no common political interests. Like in reality, what are you guys going to do? Your common interest is that you might share defense of these supply lines. But in reality, you guys aren't going to be going out and conducting diplomacy for each other in any effective sense. There's no way that you can reason your way out of the mess that you create once you start this global conflict. And so you built a problem so bad with people, decision structures so bad that all you can have is these other conflicts. So you ask me if I would somehow take out Adolf Hitler or something. Well, Hitler was the man doing the job. He ended up offing himself. And so I think we should be anti-racism. I think we should be informed and educated about politics. But being anti-racism is enough to say, well, this was not the right person and he wasn't going to be successful. People would insist Hitler was not successful over time. So that's my view. I work at Boeing. I have to sure strip through the screws on your 737. Cool. How are we doing on the poll, guys? Just to double check, guys, there's one wrong answer. There's one wrong answer on the poll. So if you guys check the poll results, if you need to refresh the stream, the one wrong answer is AOC holding a press briefing. That's not Micropolitics, guys. So 21% of you. So 1 in 5 actually. So yeah, so you guys are doing well. On average, you're getting the right answer. There's a 1 in 4 chance at a random guess to get the right answer. Only 1 in 5 of you guys. So you guys have some knowledge without even knowing it of micropolitics. 1 in 5 of you guys have selected one wrong answer, so no big deal. But AOC holding a press briefing is not an example of micropolitics. A state like Alabama or a smaller city starting a sister cities program, that is micropolitics. A mayor decides on more town halls. Yeah, if those go out and inform policy, it produces sort of discussions about opinions and economic decision making, economic thinking outside of Washington. That's also, I would say, that's micropolitics. And then 1 in 3, right? You can just put those together. So the majority of you got the most right answer in my view, in my opinion. But if I disagree, I didn't see the poll when joining. Cool. Yeah, refresh the stream. It should pop up. And if you hit dismiss, you won't see the poll on your screen anymore, but you can always refresh the chat to see it again. Always refresh the chat. What are we doing? I'm going to, if any of you guys want to start a conversation, I'll show you guys how as well. Let's do, if you guys start engaging on some of my shorts, if you guys want to, if you guys start engaging my shorts, I'll start editing them, right? I'm using the YouTube editor, removing some blank spaces, unsightly sounds, smells, things like that. But yeah, guys, and I know this isn't the best, right? I'm self-promoting, but if you guys check my shorts feed, you guys want to hit the bell. I'm not posting that often. And I'm more than happy. Maybe I'll just eventually I'll start doing this anyways, but I don't know why I'm grifting from you guys for this, but yeah, I can start editing these, maybe including some AI clips, music, stuff like that, improving the quality. And yeah, if you guys want to check out politics content that should be entertaining and a little educational, guys, that's what I can do for you. Yeah. Yeah, I'm in Arizona, so I can go get tacos, or I'm out like at the smoke shop, and there's people that just carry firearms around, right? Some businesses have a strict no concealed, or they have a strict law about no firearms in their businesses, but not most of them. In Arizona, you can walk around on the street open carrying and stuff like that. Yeah. So I see a lot in the US. I don't believe in it. Yeah. But yeah, whatever. Whatever. Yeah. I mean, everyone has a different life and stuff. My dad worked in environmental remediation, and he wouldn't like me telling you this, but yeah, my dad has owned at least one firearm. And one of the reasons was, yeah, their jobs, like you might be 40 miles outside of the city or something, and he'd be on a job site alone, where you get a call, and yeah, you've got a crew of 2 or 3 guys that's going outside of city limits at like 9 p.m. for an emergency response or something like this. Or yeah, also that also ranges is you're at an old property that was used as a lab for amphetamines or other illicit substances. This was my dad's career, his job at the time. And so yeah, he carried a firearm around. I don't know that I would, but he did, right? So that was, his judgment and discerning. I maybe like, yeah, politically per the law, I can't say anything about it, right? But yeah, that was one of his choices. Have you heard of the straw purchases? Looking good, sir. Thanks, John the Terrible. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for telling me that. Appreciate it. Yeah. Cool. Cool. Amazing. Firearm regulations, not the answer. Yeah. I mean, You're saying it's not the answer, so I'm wondering what religious or cosmic truth you're referring to. It doesn't seem like there's anything in there. It seems like you're prescribing your own belief, and you've presented zero evidence of why you believe it's relevant to someone's own political opinion or belief, Trent. So if you want to correct that, please instantiate what you mean and how you mean to say it, right? Represent that argument, please. This isn't the place. This isn't a please place, right? This isn't a begging place. If we're going to talk about, you're going to talk, my friend Alex died, right? So I don't want to hear you just tout around this bullshit, right? Firearm regulation is not the answer. Well, Alex wouldn't be dead because you wouldn't have sold a schizophrenic person an AR-15, right? Someone diagnosed with narcissistic psychopathy and psychosis, right? You wouldn't have sold that person body armor and an AR-15. So very uninformed opinion. In fact, yeah. Yeah. So bro won't engage. Bro's not a con law scholar. He hasn't looked at any empirical data. He just said the shit that, because he wants to invest, right? So this is a selfish utility-based argument. He's saying, well, I have 5 friends that use these things for reasons they can't explain because they know something is behind the other thing, right? There's the depth of your knowledge, your experience, right? Just like your mom or grandma learned how to pour slowly out of a Pyrex, twist their wrist. You know, your buddies and friends learn to very slowly twist their wrist shopping on Facebook or OfferUp, visiting their buddies, going to police auctions and whatever it is, who knows? And so your buddies learned that. My grandma learned from Pyrex, and then the other half of your buddies, they just want the investment value, right? They want the investment value. They want to play army. They want to play dress up. Is that, I mean, it's either true or it's not true, right? Someone like me would more rapidly become a more proficient and safer firearm user than you, or I wouldn't. And I also hold the belief that there's no economic value. I hold the belief that it's also deeply, generally you're opting into the choice that you become closer to being a murderer because of having the firearm. Why is Bass going nuts? Why is Bass not going to debate? I don't know. What if bro gave the man a car and then ran him over? Should we ban cars? That's not a good argument. So the stack of laws regulating, I don't know if that's what you're giving me. It's like a gift to me or something. The stack of regulations for laws for cars is incredibly enormous. And compared to firearms, where not every American owns a firearm or uses a firearm daily, if we actually look at cars, right, I don't know, there's just not really an analogy for safety components. So I think it's invalid. I don't think it's a valid way to create an explanation. But the one relevant thing is that, yeah, cars do produce a lot of danger and death. And we don't just regulate cars, we regulate the streets they drive on. So every single aspect, manufacturing, distribution, right? You can't buy a car without a driver's license. You can't buy a car without registering it at the DMV, right? So your argument is basically telling us we should have piles of law for who wants to build cars, how they have to sell them, and all this other stuff. Yeah, you're right. You are correct, Trent. So basically what I heard from that exchange is that you are unqualified or unable to form a political opinion that anyone else can know. So you have feelings about the Second Amendment, you have feelings about the social outlay, you have feelings about how you're insistent or prescribing how the conversation should go, and you have absolutely zero reason to be involved in that conversation, right? So you're basically saying, well, this is why I look up to Daddy Trump. This is why I look up to Daddy Charlie to tell me what I'm going to teach my kids one day. Yeah, so I believe, to me, yeah, this is an example, I would say, when I say, well, yeah, someone who's like super 2A, you have a 2A channel, you can be a cuck too, right? You can have been cucked by another man, and you're teaching those values at the table. Whoops. I'm gonna go fill my coffee. I'm gonna go see if I have coffee on the coffee pot. I'll be right back, guys. I was a Republican before Trump. Yeah, God save the GOP. God save the GOP for sure. Definitely, guys. Help me get some coffee. Whew. All right, y'all. If I don't see, we are at 2 hours and 10 minutes. I'm having coffee. If I don't see some of those YouTube gems come in, I may shut the stream down soon. I know we're not that type of channel where you guys buy more time or I rally for more time. But if you guys want to help alleviate some stress or a little something with the YouTube gifts, go support your other favorite streamers. That's also very helpful, guys. But yeah, I don't know why I'm mentioning it. But yeah, anyways, yeah, I don't believe, like Charlie Kirk may have believed, the food chain is meaningful about things like oil companies. Just like Donald Trump may believe that being somewhere high up on the social or cultural hierarchy has any effect on the world. It doesn't, right? It talks about what you talked about, and then ultimately what people go do follows some law in nature and society, maybe not deterministic, but not totally random either. So a great example is you go to war in Iran, and you're obviously funneling money toward less efficient areas of our economy, right? This has been well studied. Military spending, it's got a dead by date, guys. Military spending, you don't get much more out of it after a certain point. It's only effective in certain conditions. You have to cap that military spend. And so saying that Donald Trump is just infinitely getting a good thing because it's the one thing he understood doesn't mean that he understands it actually. You guys should get woker. Okay, I don't know what that means. Yeah, and so anyways, yeah, we were talking about inflation. Inflation is just one topic in political economy. Instead of doing identity politics, we can maybe inform our beliefs and then understand what we mean by identity politics. That's also an option, but shout out to you. I support you as well. Yeah, as a progressive Democrat voter, when I see dipshit wokies, as they've been called, and leftists not being able to talk about their worldview, guess who ultimately comes in and cleans it up for you? Yeah, it's Daddy Duck once again. Daddy Duck has to come in and say, well, what this person meant to mean is they don't mean to apply this all the time, but this is what they're talking about. Here's where there is some truth aptness, and I'll do the same for Charlie Kirk. I'll do the same for Donald Trump. I've done the same for Donald Trump. You guys say I have TDS. I tell you, I evaluate Donald Trump as a GOP, as a neoconservative, as a nationalist politician, and I evaluate him under what he says himself, right? Make America great again. Here's what that means. Hey, what's going on, Troy? Yeah, and so you guys say get more woke. Well, when you do identity politics and you have nothing that is conferable to the world and will actually happen, yeah, somebody who is superior to you intellectually and from a research standpoint, who doesn't tout around an identity of being uninformed, emotional, rash, and prescriptive towards other people, has to go clean up your space. They have to go clean up the mental sort of space. They have to go clean up how the groupthink works. They have to go clean up what people see when they see old Papa Bill O'Reilly or Brett Baer telling you and lying to you, right? And so it's the other side of the same coin. Wokies, far righties, whatever you guys want to play around with. You guys ask if I'm a leftist. I don't know what that is, right? These are all people who don't care about being correct and whatever. If you got timed out, I don't know. Let me check. Let's check. You got timed out once, so I would say first that's not that huge of a deal. I don't know. Yeah, there's many reasons you should probably be banned off the channel by some of the stuff you said, right? Some of it's okay, but if we look at 5 messages and one of them is like a violation of the big YouTube terms of service, right? That means 20% of your messages should actually get you sort of kicked off the channel, right? So if you got timed out and you only have one timeout, I'm kind of surprised you only have one timeout. You ask, there's the answer, guys. Guys, I mentioned this yesterday. I have tax paperwork for this. I have an LLC for this channel, guys. I'm not saying that I'm like your biggest YouTube creator. I look like shit. I need a haircut. I need to be able to afford a haircut. But guys, I'm trying to take this a little seriously. So thank you. I appreciate the respect and understanding. Welcome to, yeah, I have to do it. You guys have to do it too. Cultural Marxism is the danger. Wokeism, feminism, racial movements are all results of cultural Marxism. You're talking about identity politics and ideology, right? So when you talk about these isms, you're talking about identity politics. And so, yeah, and this is also factually inaccurate. So I'm glad you said that. But yeah, just because you're prescribing an opinion, I'm going to time you out for, let's say 10 minutes if you want to stick around. Yeah. So you're prescribing something that's factually inaccurate. You're acting like you're an authority or an expert. You're just assuming that you're going to listen, but I'm just guessing because it's 2026, you're going to go repeat that misinformation elsewhere. Right. And so what's the root cause of identity politics? You might talk about drivers in geopolitics. You might talk about the sort of perceptions of either markets or democracies. I can go look it up more later, but I know what you're saying is incorrect. It's also biased. It's from your opinion. And so, yeah, you're off the channel for 10 minutes and yeah, and there you go, right? Selective listening, most likely, mostly selectively repeating it on, just go to Turning Point. Go join, why don't you go join the Discord politics room and you can talk about that with stuff, with people that are just like you, that they don't care about being accurate. They get their information from other men and they rummage around, right? You get the one marching order and then you say, yeah, I'm a soldier for God. Cool, right? That's actually what you go do, right? That's your pathway in life, I believe. Cool. Yeah, civil exchange of ideas. Yeah. Cultural Marxism also just doesn't exist, right? So we'll correct this side of this a little bit, right? If we look at, there are people who are very small number of people who are stated Marxists. But we can look that, yeah, if Marx wrote in the 19th century, then even by the early 20th century, it's evolved into more progressive or more comprehensive forms of democratic socialism in Europe. Marxism evolves, so it evolves in a liberal sense. Marxism also evolves into Bolshevikism in Russia. So this ideology that produces ultimately whatever Leninism is, right? These sort of statist ideas that maybe are rooted in the same idea that really fueled the Soviet Empire, right? The modern incantation away from oligarchy and aristocracy and lordship really into the nation state of Russia under Lenin and others, right after the Russian Revolution. So Marxism evolves in this way, and then Marxism also has these liberal or democratic social ideas that apply to Baathism, right? So you've got Baathism in the Middle East. You also have Zionism, right next to each other. Both of these also have either ideological or utopian statements or something else. And then so feminism, is feminism cultural Marxism? No, that's not an example, right? And so again, why we don't listen to people who are uninformed is someone could make the case that, who knows, I don't know who would make the case that group methodologies that end up talking about the same institutions, either in a deliberative sense or in an economic sense, these institutions exist. This isn't cultural Marxism, right? This is not. This is liberalism still. So, yeah. So I don't know what the other wokeism. Yeah, wokeism isn't usually rising to this level. The woke left and the woke right have typically talked about things like law enforcement, about prison reform, sentencing reforms, judicial reforms, transparency. You've got 2A auditors. You've got auditors on one side. On the other side, you have counter protesters and social media activists, whatever that means, armchair activists. And so to say that that's about the same thing Marxism is about is, yeah, a great example of being deeply uninformed. It's an incorrect belief, right? You have no information or prior belief or nothing conferable to another person. So great. Another day cleaning up just bad ideas, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. The alt-right are the alt-right. If we remember where the alt-right actually came from, who knows? You can share if you have a delusional belief in chat. But where the alt-right actually came from was birther conspiracies, big government, swamp conspiracies, deep state conspiracies. Yeah, it was all like versions of a Hollywood Mothman prophecy for some reason. I don't know, your problem, not mine. But the alt-right ultimately grew out of this self-interest about social media, about the big media is lying to you, and now we're all best buddies with Fox News. And yeah, more evidence, less evidence, more evidence. Cultural Marxism is a term for... Okay, cool. Hey, good information if that's true. Yeah, good information if that's true. Yeah, that cultural Marxism was a propagandized version that gave special significance perhaps to a form of political opinions or beliefs that provided a suitable alternative. We're talking about the actual inefficiency of the political economy of Germany just now. Just a couple minutes ago as well, the actual inefficiency. Yeah, so very cool. Hell yeah. It's totally gone, man. Totally gone. I've got my hyperspace dashboard. Disappears. All of it's gone. Wow. Crazy, man. Yeah, I have my uncle Tio. When I was younger, he would say, hey, let's pick up some tecates and we can go shovel rocks, right? So I worked with my uncle Tio and my aunt Tia. And then I got home and Tio would say, hey, hijo, when you have the alcohol, you get these bruises, right? You don't recover as fast. So I know I said we can drink some tecate, but you really shouldn't, right? You should get a papas y frijole, potato and bean burrito, and you'll be okay, right? Somebody will say some carne or something, asada in there. But yeah, this is what I learned is you get these bruises, you don't recover after the work. After the work, it's hard work. Hard work. Hard work. I got one other thing to show you guys in chat. If you guys are looking for something to do tonight, obviously I'm not cross-promoting something I'm not going to be at, but myself and probably, I'm just guessing, Hizzle will also be at this awesome debate. Our friend Dr. Greg, he is probably the hottest man on YouTube, but he's also, he has a PhD in microbiology. He's going to be doing a really awesome an educational debate on evolution, right? He's doing a debate on evolution. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be honest. And so I'm going to go ahead and make sure you guys have this. Let me unpin this message. And yeah, this is what I was supposed to be doing today. Whoops. Get off my screen, buddy. So you guys can go through and if you guys click hell yeah. So if you guys go through and if you guys want to be where I am tonight, if you guys want more duck and chat, I use YouTube, but yeah, this is Breakfast Tacos is hosting this on Mega Bloodbath Debates. So if you guys want something to do tonight, this is a cool place. I'm going to be there. Hizzle's going to be there. Yeah, we're going to be watching in the audience. At least I am for sure. And then it's an open panel. So you guys can even go share your own views. If you guys want to debate, you can debate and chat all night. You guys can go debate on the main stage later on. And so, yeah, go check out my hype post for it. And if you guys want to, you guys can, yeah, if anyone wants to, folks, anyone, right? It's an inclusive space. It's brutal debates, right? Brutal debate space, Mega Bloodbath Debates. A lot of fun. You can be super honest, have a good conversation. Yeah. Yeah, hell yeah. We got Darth Theranos and stuff like that. So, yeah, one or two of you guys want to show up with us. It goes Mega Bloodbaths live 5 to 7 nights a week, either every night a week or 4, 5, 6 nights. So It's a cool place if you guys get sick of Duck, you guys get sick of flipping through the algorithm, whatever. You've got smart people, you got people with full-time jobs like Hizzle, you got professional philosophers, you got professional medical doctors, professional right? This is one of the draws of the channel. You got PhDs, you've got actual people with PhDs, you've got internet dweebs, you got people with their own internet PhDs, and you got just people who want to just go debate, talk about their beliefs, go have some fun with their friends. So it's a great place. So if you guys are looking for me, go check my post out, hype the post, like it. You can click notify me right in the post, guys. Very simple. So click the link, click notify me. You're going to end up with some of the smartest people on the internet and one of the coolest, chilled, laid-back places, guys. Honey, for real. Can't see chat or what? Hey, you're down there. I'm up here. Hello, sir. Can I ask a question? Yeah, you asked if you can ask a question, and then you asked me to answer the question. So yeah, what's up? Hey, good to see you. Shout out to you. What's up? Shout out, $8. $8, everybody. $8. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. AOC is pretty bad on Palestine, to be honest, says Patrick DTC. I've not heard of Dr. Greg. Dr. Greg's great. He's just getting started on YouTube. YouTube's really tough to grow on, but he's a great, so you're going to have a lot of fun. If you guys do click that debate link, Greg has 30K plus on TikTok. There's a good reason for it, right? He's able to go all night on lives. He's been on other top debate platforms. He's probably someone that should be on national television. He's that good, that informed. Yeah. So. All right. Cool. Come on, Eileen. Do 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 do. AOC on, yeah, people can always criticize. People can criticize politicians like AOC or anyone doing politics, saying, well, nationalism is always ingrown, or it is the strategy of realism that ultimately results. And in the United States, there's two sides of it. One of it is, yeah, if you're talking about realism, love to hear it. There's enough cooperative games, cooperative problems that the United States should be accountable internally, domestically, as well as to the degree internationally that it's possible and viable for all of our failures to recognize leading political issues. Love to hear it. AOC's too realist for Palestine. Hell yeah, let's go. And then there's the other side of it too, where it's like, well, love to hear it, right? That's the other positive message is, you don't think AOC is representing another country's interests. Cool. Yeah, awesome, right? That's how it should be, right? Welcome to the United States. So Palestine's not an internationally recognized government at the brass tacks of it. But yeah, it's in no one's interest to be supporting military spending into urban combat, urban warfare, which includes relentless air campaigns in civilian populated areas, which seems to include direct strikes on non-combatants, right? Those are all things that are not good. And so if you want AOC to be the problem solver or difference maker, maybe look inward, right? You can look to many places in the world for why this exists and persists. And yeah, Pentagon is operating out of New Zealand, and it's very much global. Cool. Yeah, I've got no idea why or how that would be the case, but yeah, it would make no sense for New Zealand, a democracy, to have no ties to the U.S. security institutions. Pentagon is just one place where the work is centralized, and so that would be surprising if it wasn't that way, right? In my view. Oh man, yeah. So which of these is an example of micropolitics? Alabama starts sister cities, AOC holds a press briefing, a mayor decides more town halls, or 1 in 3? Yeah, it's 1 in 3, and then the only one that's wrong is AOC holding a press briefing. So this is the poll we took today, guys. I'm just going through the poll results again. We're talking about the 3-point. If you guys want to check the stream thumbnail, the description, like the video, like button's free, subscribe to catch more politics content. Kind of doing a chill daytime stream. I don't know what comes next, but yeah, Alabama starting sister cities is an example of micropolitics. This is one of the things you should consider doing. It is like a thing you do or consider doing during periods of high inflation instead of giving your problems to people whose problems they are not. AOC holding a press briefing, guess what? It is not going to make it better. It may make it worse. This is equally true, guys. If you guys see Mike Johnson talking about inflation, shut up, Mike Johnson. Shut up, MAGA Republicans. You know, Ricky, Ron, Wayne Mullins, or whatever these people's names are. I don't know, Kash Patel. None of these people talking, federalizing politics, moving things up to this level of state national interests. None of this actually helps, right? So micropolitics solves problems and inefficiency in politics, in the political economy outside of economic valuations. Holding federal press conferences makes things worse. It shifts and diverts pressure into, not away from, Federal Reserve. So monetary neutrality is the other term we talk about. A mayor decides more town halls. Hey, what's up, JL Lifts? Good to see you. And 1 in 3 is also the correct answer. Thoughts on Donald Trump starting this war? What do you think American people have in mind and just the economic system? Yeah, well, today's news that inflation is measured at 3.8% is a reason American people who claim to be nationalists, claim to be making make America great again, should be concerned. The great thing is it's not a black box, right? It's a black box why Donald Trump wanted to start the war in Iran in the first place, why he is once again today threatening more violence, more bombings. It's a black box why Donald Trump is, while he's doing this, talking still about Cuba, still talking about Venezuela. It's a black box what he still thinks or believes about Greenland. It's a black box what he still thinks or believes about the U.S.'s relationship with Mexico and Canada. It's still a black box what he thinks about free trade. It's not a black box that inflation is at an all-time high, 3.8% is insane, right? So this means less purchasing power. It probably down the road means lower savings rates, and it produces technical challenges, right? Technical challenges that you cannot politic your way out of. So we're talking today when you ask me about the war, I'm talking about this, guys. This is one of the reasons you guys might consider a duck membership or supporting the channel. But yeah, one of the things we do here is micropolitics and monetary neutrality are 2 recommendations from professional political scientists, professional people who study political economy. And so Trump, I think his policies are telling you to look at macroeconomics. He's telling you to ignore the fact that that defense executives, they're not going to solve this for you, right? You can invest more money. That doesn't fix inflation. Oil and gas executives that you've chosen to win, automotive executives that you've chosen to win. None of this stuff actually fixes it. This is all political pressure going to the wrong place. American people in mind anymore. He never did, right? He never did. I don't believe. He was never qualified to actually lead the country. And so my own opinion, why I didn't vote for Trump, was I never believed Trump was qualified to handle these types of situations. He's led us into it. I have very low confidence he's able to lead us out of it because it's not his job. So basically, he has to not act. Donald Trump has to be smart enough to shut up. He has to be smart enough to tell other people to stop talking, right? He's supposed to be a leader in the GOP, the ranking member of all of the GOP. But he said, make America great again, right? This is my Republican Party, he said. He said, I can alpha dog you guys. And this is a great example why you shouldn't have let that happen. Conservatives, people with conservative values like myself, and the redacted files and documents on him are way too fishy. Yeah, it all looks pretty bad, right? We still, right? Where's the Trump? What's the Epstein-Biden connection? You guys can fill me in chat, guys. My great friends, my compatriots in political discussions, MAGA Republicans. What's the Biden Epstein connection? What's the Kamala Epstein connection? Why don't you riddle me this, guys? What do you guys believe about education? Do you want a quality education? Sure, we all want quality educations for our kids. This is a great time to actually go talk about that, to write policy on the local level for it. Donald Trump has inspired local politicians to put the Bible back in schools, right? Put the 10 Commandments in classrooms. So I disagree. Even let's say Donald Trump were to lead the GOP down this road, why does this not produce more harsh political conversations that still lead us to the wrong direction? trains people to have religious, not informed thinking about politics and society, not about their own values. Doesn't make sense. Peter Thiel is a New Zealand citizen. Oh, cool. Yeah. Yeah, why not release the redacted Epstein files? I don't know. I don't know. Melania seemed to squash that idea, right? He's listening to his wife wisely, maybe. But yeah, that's still corruption. That's really deep corruption, also, right? It is. I understand that. I get it. Yeah, it's a waste. It's wasteful. It's a form of corruption. Yeah. I mean, I would picture Donald Trump at like whatever. I picture him wearing like he's at like a black tie event. He's wearing the tuxedo, the famous Don in a tuxedo pictures. And he says, yeah, I talked it over with Melania, and we're gonna release the unredacted files. And when Kash Patel's replacement gets here, we're gonna go do the right thing. And the Democrats messed it up, but we're gonna go back and investigate, do a full investigation, follow it where the information goes. We know Epstein. We know Epstein kept meticulous records. He talked to a lot of people, and so we're gonna go do this thing. I mean, I can't picture Donald Trump's actually gonna do that. Can you imagine? Can you imagine though, guys? Like this would blow up Patrick Bet David, Dan Bongino, right? I don't know. It'd be all over Truth Social, all over Rumble. People saying, "Hell yeah, we've argued about it for all this time. This is the buzzworthy story of the century." And you're gonna have these far right influencers with this influx of like women audiences who are like, well, geez, I would have liked to know the federal government cares about SA and rape and all these crimes against women, but that's not happening. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. Yeah. People like Tim Pool that were unable to take like, I mean, what is it, right? Is it a masculine opinion to support a guy who has been accused of having to steal from people to be successful, committing fraud, lying? Is it a masculine opinion? Is it a national position to support someone who judges just say you assault people, right? I don't think it is. Yeah, shout out to the Gooners in chat, guys. We got to limit a little bit of the Goonerness here. How many blah 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 and what? Yeah. Would you have a discussion on Bohemian Grove and who's attended over the year? I have no idea what that's supposed to be. If this is another one of these current events, I'm down. Let's see what Bohemian Grove is. Bohemian Grove. Do I have to do something here? Was this a private gentleman's club? Oh, wow. This sounds really naughty. This sounds really dangerous. Oh, Alex Jones says it's a residual sacrifice. Residual sacrifice. I could meow. I'm probably not going to. I hopefully am not asking you guys to mew for me or whatever. Yeah, I'm not trying to mew you guys out. Alex Jones saying this campground is all about ritual sacrifice. I don't know what that would be for, right? I wouldn't put it past people living in the U.S. who want to get out of the mainstream culture and stuff like this. Crazy stuff. He's a diehard MAGA supporter, LARPing as a weirdo demic. Ah, brutal, man. You're just distracting, right? This is one of the deep state smear tactics. My CIA overseers come in anytime I've got a glimpse at a good story. Your buddy Duck's just he's a little too into the fold on all this stuff. Really bad, man. And so, yeah. But yeah, I don't know that much about this kind of stuff. I mean, in my view, it seems like it's really easy to make accusations of these conspiracy narratives. It's more difficult to actually confer that information to someone else. And I mean, look at Alex Jones. Like he's gone through and he's done tinfoil content for way longer than I can remember, right? And it's not just that, but he's played off of like Joe Rogan's ability to sort of play into skepticism, play into doubt, played into these other creators who do basically the same thing on social media, apparently with no sort of line, no end in sight for it. Very stupid. And yeah, so it's really crazy. It's one of these like super NAR type deals, and yeah, but I don't know anything about Bohemian Club. It does look like it's some mix of perhaps a place where normativity, cultural values, the laws seem to disappear, not be recognized. It also seems like a place where because of the mysteriousness or the exclusivity of it, it goes in the wrong direction. And so there's obvious cases like Scientology too, where Scientology is another example of something like this. Yeah, another example of this stuff. Xi Jinping over all U.S. presidents. Yeah, cool. That's just a Chinese national position. So cool. Yeah, that sounds like MAGA Trumpism for China. I don't know, whatever. Yeah, am I supposed to? Are you telling me is better than the imploding U.S. ways? Cool. Yeah, China has an incredibly high inflation rate, if I recall, incredibly high interest rates. So yeah, I don't see why that would be. I don't see why stating facts with emotions would be a way you want to conduct politics or you want to do something. Again, it just sounds like a Chinese version of MAGA GOP-isms and the whatnot like that. Yeah. Um, yeah. So, yeah. And so, there's a mix of conferring of truths when something is true. When something's not true, it's not causal. It's purported to be explanatory of a change of the sort of modeling of phenomenality. Then, if it's not explanatory, it lost in the first place and it loses once again. So, yeah, but whatever. Stupid man. Bohemian Club and Epstein Island. Letitia St. James. Is this the place? Is this the place that this is different, right? Because who was it? Sean Ryan. He's the CIA Navy SEAL guy, Special Forces operator Sean Ryan. But he was doing this hit piece or journalism piece, on this like religious group that was hosting church camps, and they had like almost 200 sexual assault charges. There's people that get outraged about it, but that number is a little funny. How are you a church camp? How are you around and there are like I'm not decontextualizing what it means to have one sexual assault charge or accusation, but to have like almost 200 sexual assault accusations that involve people of all ages from any walks of life. So you basically set up, some would say it's like a grape camp, right? That is what you set up. And it's been running for like 50 years. But anyway, Sean Ryan, they threatened to sue the guy, right? They threatened to sue the guy because of it. They said cease and desist. And so his lawyers wrote him back. That's Alex Jones, right? Wasn't that the Alex Jones video? I can't replay that on stream, but yeah. I mean, whatever. I don't see why that's not like cryptids, though. I mean, you guys can be conspiracy theorists. I'm not allowed to do that up here, but like, if you see ritualistic sacrifices or something, isn't that just like cryptid stuff or something? It's not. It's something else. I don't know. What is it supposed to be? Hell yeah, the Bilderberg Group was way more popular when I was in college, right? The Bilderberg Group was where the conspiracies focused in sort of these anti-disestablishmentarians, contrarians, people that wanted to be that they didn't feel disenfranchised from society but didn't want government. Bilderberg Group had a lot of the focus of like conspiracy theories back in like 2010, 2007, 2011, 2012, right? Yeah, during the Tea Party era, the Bilderberg Group was talked about, but it spun off really quickly, right? This is what the GOP's big money backers wanted to talk about. They said, well, it's not just the Bilderberg Group, it's the fact that like groups like this, right? It's like this, for no reason, groups like this want you to believe Barack Obama is from Kenya, so he's this African guy, or they wanted you to, instead of looking at a place very tangible like the Golden Triangle, where it's like, yeah, there's casinos, there's drug smuggling, this is a border region, which is not a hot border region. You have border patrol security, things like this, but there's not world wars going on here. And it just so happens that this is where black market activity seems to focus. That can range from drug smuggling, the Pablo Escobar style stuff, to like financial crimes, right? And so in the Golden Triangle, you might say, well, this is the place geopolitics sort of forgot, but this is what a conspiracy looks like. It's just the case there's, whatever. But anyway, so, you can know more about the Golden Triangle, but you can't know more about the Bilderberg group's impact on globalism and realism and neorealism, right? You can't know more about what they know about why the world works the way it does. It's very stupid. It's very stupid. And so it's like, cool, you either only wanted to tackle like energy excess or risk or whatever, I don't know. Whatever your shitty view is, your uninformed opinion is, or whatever the fuck it is, you're not contributing to that conversation in that way right now. And so, you accept when there's grassroots campaigns that are kind of right next to yours. You accept when, all these people that really just shouldn't be voting, right? They're not that politicized. Maybe you love politics or you love debating people who love politics, but now you went over to the GOP, the MAGA Republican side, because there's a conspiracy, right? It's the same stuff that was anti-government, anti-federal, whatever back in the day is now, it's now sufficiently, you have also been cucked by MAGA Republicans or something like that. I don't know. It's none of it, some of it, all of it. I don't know, whatever. Who cares? Who cares, right? It's supposed to be a thing, right? We're supposed to, either way, it's not what's today. Micropolitics and monetary neutrality, that was the question and concern. That was the question. That was what we were working on eternally or something. Let's all eat pizza and McDonald's for only 6 months straight. We can see some good muscle gains. All right, guys, I got to close this. I'm going to close the stream down. I got stuff to do. I guess, I don't know. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will go live later tonight. Hizzle, thanks so much for being here as well with the modding a little bit and stuff like that too. Happy day to you guys. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in a little bit. Take care.